Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Down the Line podcast. Once again, as always, I'm joined by my boy Ethan. How are we doing on this fine-ass Thursday, Ethan?
We're doing great, and obviously, not much to complain about after the news that broke
Whew.
last night as we're recording.
Hey, we're getting it good tonight. We got some things to talk about. We got a few big moves last week. There hasn't been there was three main moves that happened, and that was kind of it. But they were pretty notable ones, each and every single one of them, and they definitely give us some stuff to talk about. There was two trades, and one of the biggest free agents is now off the board. We're going to go in chronological order of how they happened. So we're going to go back on, I think it was on Sunday. Yeah, it was on Sunday. I think it was kind of unexpected. I know that there was kind of news about, the Mets are listening on Brandon Nimmo, but I was like, I don't really think that's going to go anywhere. And I think I actually said that on the pod. I was wrong, clearly. The Mets and the Rangers agreed to a trade that the Rangers are receiving Brandon Nimmo and the Mets are receiving Marcus Semien. There's things to think about with this because it's a little bit weird, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know where you stand on this, Ethan, but I still don't really like this from the Mets perspective. I had originally said, I don't understand the thought process, and I'm going to rephrase, because I understand the thought process. They're getting off the money sooner, they're getting better defensively at second base, more right-handed, I get it, but I also don't think that's close to worth it, and I actually think the Mets lose this trade by a decent margin, because Nimmo is just that much more productive than Semien. He's younger. He's still a solid defensive outfielder. I've seen people say that Nimmo's not very good anymore, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Nimmo is still plenty good. He's not a 5-win player. He's still a productive 2.5, 3-win player a year.
He's definitely not the same player he was even a couple years, the exact same player. He had a couple seasons there where he had a WRC plus up around 130, for a couple of years in a row there, well, even more maybe, especially in the shortened year in 2020.
Exactly.
He's obviously not a 5-win player now, but you're still getting, great value out of him. It's not like he declined into something that's, a below average bat. He's still an above average bat for sure.
Exactly. And with again, you said above average, he's a 114 WRC plus hitter. That is really good. He gets on base a good amount. He's kind of gone with a different approach this year, where I think the Mets wanted to try to have him hit for more power, and so he's not walking as much, and I don't really think it's an approach that fits him quite as much. But regardless, even with an approach that I don't really think fits him as much, he's still a 3-win player, and you can say yeah, he has a lot of money tied to him. He's 3 years younger than Semien. Nimmo's probably going to be a better hitter at the end of the contract than Semien is right now.
Yes.
And this is, everyone kind of, I think, knew what was going to happen with Semien, or at least when Semien signed that deal with Texas 3 years ago, you kind of, or 4 years ago, whatever, you kind of knew, that near the end of the contract, the back half of the contract is not going to look good. And granted, that's just kind of how baseball contracts work.
But you won that ring, so that definitely buys you that contract.
It does. But if you're a team that's trading for that contract, you're looking at a guy who's going to be 35 next season. He just had his worst year in almost 10 years. His worst offensive year ever that he got reasonable playing time at the major league level. He's a solid defender at second, I guess, and that's kind of it. I don't really think that whatever you're hoping improves with the team and bringing in Semien, I don't think it's worth giving away what you were getting from Brandon Nimmo.
Correct.
I love this trade for the Rangers because one thing that they needed last year, they needed offense. And we had said it, they said at the deadline, we said it, we've been saying in the offseason, if they're going to go for anything, they need to go get some guys who can hit. And Nimmo is a productive offensive player. He last year had a 114 WRC plus, had 25 home runs. The guy can get on base at a solid rate. Like, he's got it.
Yeah.
Brandon Nimmo isn't good takes any. I don't know where the fuck these takes are coming from. I could not tell you, because I've seen it from a good amount of people on like Twitter and stuff when I'm seeing people talk about the trade, and I'm like, where are you guys getting this from? Who's telling you that Brandon Nimmo is not good? He's a very good everyday player. Like,
yeah, and I mean, another thing is for the Mets, I'm not going to say that they completely lost the trade yet, because it's all dependent on what they do with that hole.
Yes.
Because right now, as it lines up, their outfield is projected to be Soto, McNeil, and Tyrone Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
If they can get, I'm not going to even say Kyle Tucker, if they can get even like Cody Bellinger, that makes that outfield better.
Yes.
Not necessarily better from Nimmo, but I'm just saying like better than it is now.
Yes.
And then adding Semien to the mix, as well as a guy like Bellinger, who's your replacement for Nimmo, I think that looks really nice.
Those two combined equal better than Nimmo. And
yes,
that is, like, I think one of the big things that probably would be the reason that the Mets made this trade. It's like, yeah, those other things, better defense on the infield, more right-handed, whatever. I think the big thing is that this now makes you a much bigger suitor for one of those big outfielders or some other big name. I said this in Discord to Nick. I said, if they don't get someone like that, this is just a troll move.
Exactly.
Like,
but
if you do,
Steve Cohen,
then it's good.
Yeah,
because Steve Cohen ain't afraid to spend.
Shy. He has never been one to.
Steve Cohen goes into free agency and says, "Mama did not raise no bitch."
Yeah. So that's the one thing I'm looking at there. They have a lot of money that they're able to spend. And I'm not even going to say that they can't get Tucker. I mean, I don't think it's fair to say with a team like the Mets, who have an owner like Steve Cohen, it's fair to say that they're out on anybody at any given time.
Oh, absolutely not.
So, if you get Tucker, I mean, that's unbelievable. But you don't even need to get Tucker because, like I said, Bellinger's still makes that team better.
Yeah, Bellinger's right there. You can throw in center field, and your team, obviously, in that case, would look a lot better than it did in 2025. But until something like that happens, I can't say, exactly. They're going to get Bellinger, they're going to get Tucker, they're going to get whoever. Until something like that happens, I can't say that I like this move for the Mets.
That's fair.
If they get a Bellinger, then big ups. You guys got it. You guys are better this year and probably for the next couple years than you were last year. You got it.
Yeah.
But as of right now, as of 7:23 p.m., November 27th, Thursday, 2025, I cannot say that this trade makes the Mets better. I don't think it gives them more flexibility in terms of offseason stuff because you're actually paying Semien more money per year than you did Nimmo. I know Nimmo has more years and therefore has like $30 million more total on his contract, but you're paying Semien, I think, like another $6 to $7 million per year going forward. That gives you, again, it's not like Steve Cohen needs financial flexibility, but you get less of it in the next couple of years. I guess you get off the money quicker, but it gives you a little bit less room to operate because obviously even with Steve Cohen there's some limit, surely. It gives you a little bit less room to operate in the next like 2-3 off seasons. Again, it gets you off the money like 2 years quicker. But I once again say I genuinely think that Nimmo, by the end of the contract, he's going to be at the very least a better hitter than Semien is right now, and I wholeheartedly believe that. He's someone who doesn't chase. His whiff rates aren't even that high. He's not super reliant on something like bat speed either. Has okay, like his batted ball profile isn't spectacular. Like he doesn't, like if you pull the ball more, he'd be really good. He did that when he first came up around like 20. He didn't first come up in 2018, but in his first couple years in the league, he actually pulled the ball at a decent rate. If he could do that a little bit more, then I'd feel a lot better about him aging. But even with that, it's like, you know what I mean? I don't fully love this for the Mets. I definitely like it more for the Rangers. You are getting a little bit younger. Just your offense is now better, which is something you desperately need. Semien's production, at least in 25, it should not be hard. It's not going to be remotely hard to replace. He was like a 2-win player, according to Fangraphs. Was more than 10% worse than the league average hitter. he was a really good defensive second baseman. Obviously, Gold Glove and all that. But at the same time, I don't think going all in for second base defense is necessarily the move. But
the Cardinals have thrown around Brendan Donovan as a guy. If the Rangers can get him to replace Simeon, I mean, that bat there, that's very good.
They're looking so much better than they did last year.
Yeah.
I actually think if the Mets are going to try to trade for a second baseman, I think that should have been their guy. I think outside shot, they could have tried for Ketel Marte, although I've said I don't think he's going to get moved because I think that price is going to be stupid high, and I think I don't know if anyone's going to want to pony up for it, whether he's probably going to be worth whatever he gets because he's under stupid team control with a really team-friendly deal, and is probably going to age pretty well as also. So I don't like that it takes him out of Ketel Marte. Not that I think that it was a likely thing.
Yeah.
But all things considered, just I don't know.
The thing with Simeon's year, though, is very hard to kind of gauge because he did have the injury trouble. And he's not a guy who has an injury history. Mm-hmm. This isn't somebody who... this is somebody who has played a full 162 on multiple years. He's had 150 plus almost every year of his career. He definitely had 127 games played last season. So it's kind of hard because he was playing hurt a bit. I did see a tweet, though, that he simplified his approach near the end of May, around the 30th of May. Before he simplified the approach, he was slashing 173, 260, 224, 1 double, 3 home runs, 226 WOBA, 297 xWOBA with a 42 WRC+. After simplifying it, since May 30th, he slashed 270, 338, 464, obviously with a bigger sample size of 311 plate appearances, 15 doubles, 12 home runs, 344 WOBA, 332 xWOBA, and a 123 WRC+. Obviously, when you look at his second half stats, they won't show that they're as good because he was playing hurt and in August, and that's when he was, struggling. But throughout the 311 plate appearance sample size, he really did seem like he figured it out. So if the Mets can get that kind of production, I'm sure they're more than happy with that trade.
If they can, then absolutely. It's
a big if, though. Yeah.
It is a really big if because, again, played through injury a bit, but also that's a good amount of the year where you are not producing shit, right? Also, I've seen a lot of people be like, well, Texas is not really a good ballpark for Simeon. He's a guy who hits a lot of fly balls, pulls them a lot. Texas is not a good, hitter's park. Neither is Citi Field. If you look at Stat Factor, they're 21st in Park Factor, 98. Yeah. Texas isn't that much lower than them. I'm sure there'll be a little more power there because, again, Texas is one of the most pitcher-friendly parks in the league. It's not like it's going to be that much better in Citi Field, or at least I don't really see how it would be.
Right.
I don't see how it would be that much better in Citi Field, considering that's also not a hitter's park. So,
yeah,
if he went somewhere I don't know, Philadelphia. I'm just throwing a team out there. I don't really know or care to think how he'd fit on that team. If he went somewhere like there, you could kind of sell me on it. Be like, you know what, it's more of a hitter's park. I can get behind him working more there. But Citi Field, I don't really see how that would work. I don't know. Overall, I don't know where you fully stand. As it stands right now, I just don't like the move for the Mets.
Yeah, I agree. I think as of right now, the Rangers got the better end of the deal. But it also is dependent on what both teams do to fill those holes, because there's a very good chance that the Mets just go out there and get an outfielder that has stats that are better than Nimmo's, and it makes the trade worth it. And there's also a chance that the Rangers go out there and get a second baseman who outproduces Simeon and makes it worth it, more worth it on their end. It's completely dependent. As of right now, though, I will have to agree with you and stand on the side of the Rangers getting the better end of this deal.
Yeah.
But obviously things can change. The offseason's young, lots of time till opening day. So much can change till then. So it will be very interesting to see how these teams get creative and fill those holes that they just created with the trade. So I definitely am intrigued by both those front offices to see what they're able to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it makes them much more of a player for those guys. But yeah, I think that's kind of all we got to say on that. I don't think there's too much more we can say. Um,
No, I mean that's what the thing with the trades at this time of
yeah.
year, because you really just don't know how things are gonna play out yet.
hmm The next one, we got big move over here. The Boston Red Sox acquiring Sonny Gray from the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, this was one that, like Sonny Gray, like everyone kind of knew he was getting moved sooner or later. It was just like, where
Where was he
was he
going?
going?
Yeah.
Right? Like it was
I
pretty.
believe we both had him going in the NL West. I think you had the Giants,
I
I
had
had
the
the
Giants,
Padres.
yeah.
Yeah.
Both whiffed on that one, but it's all right. It's all right. Um, so they get Sonny Gray. That's going to be their two starter. I've seen some people be like, damn, I don't really like this for the Red Sox. I've seen some people be over the moon for it. If you're a Red Sox fan, you should be probably really over the moon because Sonny Gray is pretty fucking good.
He is easily their number 2
He
starter.
is very easily their number two. I'm not going to look at a 4.3 ERA or whatever he had last year and say that that's going to fool me. He gets a lot of strikeouts. He doesn't walk anybody. He gets a lot of guys to chase. There's a little bit of a barrel problem, I guess. But he also
I mean,
gets a
yeah,
solid amount of ground balls. Like, he should be
it,
fine.
yeah, it it's something that we're gonna talk more about once we get to the next thing that we're gonna talk about.
Yep.
But when I'm looking at Sonny Gray again, I don't think the ERA is very much of an indicator of how good he is. If you look at his FIP, it was 339. You look at his xFIP, it's even lower at 307. Last year when he put up a 384 ERA, he had a FIP of 312 and an xFIP of 282. Definitely a very good pitcher, and I think with the defense that he'll have behind him in Boston, it'll make the ERA number jump even higher, because that's another thing. ERA, yes, because ERA doesn't take into account errors. That doesn't mean that defense doesn't play a role, because there could be something that's not an error where an average to above average fielder gets to
Mm-hmm.
where a player normally doesn't. So that's another thing. ERA is not the biggest indicator if someone's good or not. And a lot of people will look at that number and say, "Oh, 4 ERA, why are they doing this? He's not good. They should have gotten somebody who's lower," but
Yeah.
it doesn't tell the full story.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only thing is that y'all gotta listen, Boston. Y'all gotta make him stop throwing his fastball. His fastball gets hammered. That's the only thing. Stop. Don't make him throw that pitch. Tell him to stop throwing that damn pitch. Other than that, you'll be fine because that pitch kind of gets hammered. Batters slugged almost 600 against it in 25. But like everything else, like again, like he said, he strikes guys out. He doesn't walk anybody. Gets a solid amount of ground balls. Like I don't really see how this is a bad move. It's a lot of money, sure. It's like I think 40 million or so guaranteed, but it's like 1 year. There's a mutual option. The Red Sox can just say, all right, we don't want
They
you here.
also shed a lot of money last year with a certain trade that we've talked
Yeah,
about many times.
yeah, with a certain trade that overall wasn't that good. But yeah, like it's not like this is gonna handicap the Red Sox with what they can do. Like if they want to bring him back, he's not going to get fucking $35 million next year.
No.
If they want to bring him back for another 2 years, he's not going to get that much money, or 30 million even. Probably doesn't even get that. Probably gets like maybe you want to say 2 years, 50 million. That's probably what he ends up getting if he puts up another year.
Yeah.
Like this year or last
And with
year.
a team like Boston, who ranked 19th in walks per 9 among starters with 314, getting a guy like Sonny Gray definitely will drop that number pretty significantly, I would say.
Exactly, and he's gonna.
I would definitely think that's going to be in the 100. Like it will start with a 2 next season.
Exactly, and he's gonna play well in Boston. They were one of the better defenses in baseball. They were 5th in fielding run value. Like he's going to be fine. I don't really see why people are so like on about. Not everyone. I feel like there's some people who are a lot more like, wow, I can't believe the Red Sox did this, or Sonny Gray's not going to be good, whatever. And then there's, the people who also, look and they're like, yeah, that's actually really good. I've seen some people be like, damn, this isn't really good enough for them. And I'm like, in what world are you looking at Sonny Gray and saying he's not going to be your 2 starter? If you want to say that maybe it's like, I don't know, a little bit of an overpay, then I actually kind of get it, because like Brandon Clark is like a really good prospect. But may I remind you, if you're gonna get a good player, you have to pay to get him. You're not gonna get good players for fuck all.
Yeah,
right?
that's another thing a lot of people don't realize. I've seen so many people say, "Oh, they don't have Scooble money. They didn't go after Scooble." You would have had to mortgage your entire future to get Tariq Scooble. It's not like it's just an easy thing where it's like a franchise mode on MLB The Show where you can offer a bunch of mid and just get a superstar. That's not how the real world works.
Yeah.
You gotta give something to get something.
Yeah, I seriously just like don't understand why, because like that's the big thing is like you traded your your number 5 prospect for him. It's like you didn't even touch like your top guys.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not really like you gave up the holy grail for Sonny Gray, respectfully.
Right. I mean, they gave up prospects that they believe are relatively easy to replace in the next couple of years. I mean, they definitely have some of their top guys that even pitchers still in the system.
Exactly.
I mean, they still have Peyton Tolle.
Mm-hmm.
They still have Connolly Early. They got the meat of their prospect pool still intact. They got Witherspoon too. Like they have their future for pitching is not looking bad at all.
They got guys.
And they have Crochet also locked up too, which is the key.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Clark, he has like really good stuff. Like his fastball and slider is really good. There's also a lot of question about like his control. Like he walked a lot of guys, albeit in high A last year, and it was like 30 inning sample, so it's obviously not going to tell you that much. But he walked a lot of guys. Like this has been a thing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he's one of those guys that doesn't end up working out as a starter because he really has like 2 good pitches. His fastball and his slider, his curveball and his changeup are kind of you know what I mean? Like I don't really think that. I'm not saying that this is a nothing loss because Brandon Clark definitely had value.
Right.
That's why he headlined a trade a package going back like this. But I also like.
If that's the best piece you're giving up and you're getting a guy
fine.
who's a proven starter like Sonny Gray, you 100% can live with that.
You're going for a World Series here, brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going for a World Series. You're trying to capitalize on your current window. You just were in the playoffs last year. You have a lot of talent on your roster. You have guys like you have Garrett fucking Crochet at the top of your rotation. You have a lot of other really good players along your team. You have Wilyer Abreu, you have Sina and Rafaela. They're surely going to try and bring Alex Bregman back, whether he actually ends up going back or not.
And we talked about a lot about how a potential swap in terms of free agent signings between Alonso and Bregman to the Mets and
they've been rumored on a lot of the big bats too.
Right, so like if they get either Alonso or Bregman, then I mean that's very, very good.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that Brandon Clark is high enough of a status prospect where I'd be like, sorry, I can't do that for this established multiple-time All-Star who's gonna really change my team's weakness. I really don't understand. Like, sure, if you want to try and get for lesser value, then sure. But if you're gonna tell me there's a bad trade for the Red Sox because they gave up Clark, no, I'm not even entertaining that. Also, I'm pretty sure the Red Sox actually got money from the Cardinals, if I remember correctly, to partially cover the money. If we really want to go there.
I mean.
But yeah,
Clark right now ranks as the 7th best prospect for the Cardinals, and for them, that's good. Like they're happy with their side of the trade too. I don't think this is a complete one-sided trade. I'm not going to say that the Cardinals got absolutely fleeced by any means. No. They definitely improved their prospect.
They got a good return.
Compete right now.
They got a good return for Sonny Gray, but I mean, I think we're getting at the same thing. What we're getting at, for those listening, what we're getting at is that it can be a good return for the Cardinals, but it can also, like, it's fine for the Red Sox. Like, I don't really see why people are saying again, if you want to say you probably should have given up less, then sure. But also at the same time, it's like, it's not like you gave up your top prospect for him. It's not like you gave up any of your top 4 prospects for him, because you didn't. He was your 5th ranked prospect, and in fact, he moved down lower on the Cardinals system. Like, it's not gonna kill. You're not mortgaging your future for a 35-year-old, right? You're not giving up half of what you would have given up for Scooble. Probably less than what you would have given up for Joe Ryan or Freddie Peralta or any of those guys if you were gonna go after them. Like, it's fine. Like, there's no issue with this for the Red Sox. I really can't see it. I really can't. But it is what it is. I think that's kind of all there is there.
Yeah.
So
and now we can go to a fun one that I'd love
we
to
have
talk about.
we have one we're happy as hell about. We said numerous times when we're talking about we said it around the middle of the season, we said it in the off season. Dylan Cease is really, really fucking good. We even said when he was on the Padres, we actually remember, I don't know if you remember, we talked about potential swap for him and Yohan Duran going to Boston, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Around the deadline. And we said, listen, don't look at his ERA. Don't let it fool you. This guy fucks. He's really good.
You mean Jaron, I assume?
What? What do you mean?
You said Yohan Duran.
Oh,
you mean
sorry.
Jaron.
Yeah, I meant Jaron. My bad.
Yeah.
We had said, like, don't let Cease's ERA fool you. He's really fucking good. And then
this isn't like us. This isn't us like coping because he's on our team.
There is record of like 6+ months of this going back. So yesterday, I'm gonna break it down for everyone, right? I'm playing Rivals with someone, right? And I get a text. I get it from Ethan right here, and I'm like. He tells me, like, yo, Cease to the Jays. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, where? Right? Well, let me look up exactly what you said. No, you just said Cease, all caps. And I go, where? Right? And I could tell by all caps you meant the Jays. I was like, where are you seeing this? Like, is it Passan? Is it, like, so I need to know if I'm getting trolled right now. And he says, Jays 7210. And I say, where again? And he says, yes. And I go, girl, I'm asking where you saw it. I thought you meant, like, where
no. Like, he's a J?
No, you're right. No, you valid. But, no, that was really funny. Because I looked after my game. I couldn't focus for the rest of my game. I'm not even going to lie. I was locked out. But I looked at it, and I see Dylan Cease, the Toronto Blue Jay. 7 years, $210 million. We've kind of said, like, he's the best starter on the market. It is not how I thought the Jays were going to address their offseason pitching needs. We kind of agreed that they're a team that needs a starting pitcher, like a front-line starting pitcher. I thought that they were going to do it through trade. I don't remember what you said, how they were going to do it. I think you said they were going to Ime, I think you said, right? Or
that's what I said,
That's what you said. I personally had them going through trade and getting Freddie Peralta, but fucking hell. Hey, we're cool with a Dylan Cease. The immediate reaction from a lot of people is really interesting. And albeit this was, I think, for some people, this was before they saw it, that it was deferred money. There was a lot of people saying that this is a terrible contract, too much money, too long. I saw someone say this is already a bottom 3 contract or pitching contract in baseball, and I'm sorry. If you're of that extreme train of thought, you're on fucking crack, bro. You're methed out. Yeah. You are cracked out, weeded, coked, methed out to the extreme. Let me tell you.
So the first thing I notice is with the deferrals, it's not like an extreme deferral, but it makes it go from about a 30 AAV to about 26. And that right there, do you know where that puts him in terms of players around that contract?
That's around like
that
Rodon.
Puts him in the company of Robbie Ray, Luis Severino, Carlos Rodon, Aaron Nola, and I think he's better than all of them.
Yeah, he is. I think that one thing that also I think baseball fans are having trouble dealing with right now, having trouble fully realizing, is that baseball and contracts are inflating stupidly quick, right? I was thinking about this yesterday. Think about when Albert Pujols signed his deal with the Angels, right? That was, what, $240 million?
Yeah.
How long did it take Harper to get his 330? It was like, what, 7 years? 6 years? Something like that? Right?
What do you mean? Like
Harper got his $330 million deal from the Phillies, right? That was 7 years later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That is less than a $100 million increase. I don't think Pujols wasn't the biggest contract. I think it was still A-Rod by that point. Or maybe it was Pujols, like free agent-wise. But regardless.
Yeah.
One of the biggest contracts baseball had ever seen at that point was $240 million. 7 years later, that number goes up to $330. That's about the same amount of time that has passed from Harper's contract to now. The biggest contracts in the league have more than doubled. Right?
Yeah.
Let's think about that really quick. Contracts are going crazy. Contracts are getting really big, really fast.
I
30
mean, we've
million.
seen two $700 million contracts in the
Mhm.
past 2 years.
Exactly. $30 million in 2025 is not the same as it was in 2018 or 2020 or even 2021, right? I
Yeah.
saw a lot of projections saying that Cease was going to get around 26, 27 AAV, and when you account for deferrals, that's pretty much what he got. He pretty much got exactly what he was projected to get. And it wasn't an overpay then, it wasn't an overpay now. I had him getting, I'm going to actually open up my board so I can see. I had him at, what did I have him at? 7 years, 185 and a half. When you account for deferrals, I'm pretty sure it's around that money. I think it's slightly less than what I projected, actually. So if you're going to look at me and you're going to tell me that this is some terrible, ridiculous contract, I just don't understand it. Baseball, like, if you're going to say that he's not going to be that great near the last, like, 2-3 years of the deal, sure. He probably won't be when he's 37. But that is also just kind of how baseball contracts work. If you go into every free agency and you're looking to trying to add, like, a big-time player to your team, but you back out on all of them because you say, well, on the last few years of that deal, he's not going to be really good, you're not going to get any good players. Your team's going to suck.
No,
Your team is going to suck balls.
You have to overpay in free agency. That's how it works. I'm not saying overpay in terms of Cease is necessarily a bad thing. I wouldn't say that means that he's being overpaid. It just means more than what you probably think he's worth.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to keep in mind, not only is their former team also trying to re-sign them in most cases, you also have a bunch of contenders talking to him, wanting to give him contracts, and it's not like their teams are so open about it where you know exactly the amount of money they're offering. So you also kind of have to guess and give more to ensure you get the guy.
Exactly.
If you're a team like the Blue Jays, who is owned by a company that's worth like $30 billion or whatever it is, and you just made the World Series, you made well over $100 million during that run, and you want to continue competing, this is a no-brainer contract to give out to a guy of Cease's caliber.
You know, even honestly, if it wasn't for deferrals, I still wouldn't hate the contract, to be honest, because, I mean, I guess I'm just really high on Dylan Cease, and again, I have been.
Yeah.
You can go back to the Trade Deadline podcast and listen to how I was talking about how fucking good Dylan Cease is. He's that fucking good. He has some of the best strikeout stuff in baseball. He is that fucking guy, and there really is not any room for discussion around that. There is no discussion around that. The simple fact is he is that good. His stuff is he gets guys to chase. He doesn't get hit super hard. There's like kind of like his middling barrel numbers. The only thing I guess is that he walks a bit of guys, but if you're getting guys out, if you're striking guys out, you're not getting the ball hit super hard off of you, you can live with walking an okay amount of guys here and there. It's not like it's first percentile, it's 20th percentile, which again isn't good, but it's being talked as if it's like the fifth percentile walk rate. I don't really understand where a lot of the hate on this, or where a lot of the negativity on this contract is coming from. Especially when you factor in deferrals. I think a lot of people probably missed that because they fucking waited forever to say that there was deferrals on the contract.
Yes.
Which I guess is totally fair if you didn't see that. But again, when you factor in deferrals, this is exactly what he was projected. I saw someone, we both follow him on Jay's Twitter. I'm not going to say his name. I'll DM you the name, actually. I saw he tweeted it after, his projection on the Cease contract, like after he had signed it, and he said, "Yeah, I think he's gonna." His projection was like 24 million AAV. I'm sorry, you're methed out, bro. If you ever thought that Dylan Cease was getting anything less than 25 at the bare minimum, you are coked out. You need to hit the rehabilitation center. You need to go to Cokeheads Anonymous.
I had 27 a year for 7 years. You had 26 and a half for 7 years.
Yes. And again, once you account for deferrals,
with the deferrals,
that's pretty much what he got. I don't remember the exact number once you factor in deferrals, but it's pretty much that number.
It's roughly 26. I don't know the exact number. I don't know if the exact number came out, but I saw that it was about 26.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't really understand why people are saying that this is some ridiculous contract. You know what I've noticed, actually? It's funny. I actually said this to Nick because he's someone I think does this a lot. But a lot, not just him. A lot of people around baseball do this. Whenever anyone outside of like the Soto or Ohtani tier signs a big contract in free agency, there are so many people who call it an overpay or it's too many years, it's too much money, it's this, it's that. I brought it up on the last podcast. A lot of people were saying that 5 years was way too much for Josh Naylor, and I was like, okay, you're gonna get off in week 33. Who really like it's not you're not locking yourself in, right? A lot of people do stuff like this when it's not those top 1 tier free agents. And I think we kind of all collectively need to get serious and learn that you are not going to get someone of this caliber on a 4-year, $80 million deal. I don't know where some of these things come from. Again, part of it is baseball contracts are inflating really quick, and I think a lot of people are not fully mentally adjusted to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, again, $210 million now would have been one of the biggest contracts in baseball history 9 years ago, 8 years ago, right? Would have been one of the biggest. Yeah. We have had a shit ton of guys break 300 million. We've had multiple guys break 700. We've had some 400 and 500 once you count for like non-free agent ones, like total contract, like extensions and stuff like that. Contracts are getting really fucking big really quickly. Like I said, from the time it's Pujols signed his deal to Harper signing his, at the time, the biggest contract in baseball history, that was a 7-year difference, and it was $90 million more than Pujols. We are actually slightly closer to Harper signing that deal than we were to Pujols signing his deal when Harper signed. The biggest contracts, as I said, have more than doubled, which kind of just shows you just how much contracts are inflating, because guys are always looking at the last guy at their position who got that big deal. You remember when Tatis signed his deal with the Padres, his big extension, and then when Lindor was talking extension with the Mets, he beat Tatis by like $1 million. Like, that was the thing. He needed just more than Tatis, right? That is one thing, especially when guys enter free agency, you always look, all right, what are some guys that we can compare their contracts to, right? If you go on a site like Spot Track, right? When they try to calculate a market value for someone, they will try to take similar contracts for guys, whether it's at their position or whatever, and that's a lot of what goes into trying to calculate this guy's market value. This is just kind of how it works, right? A lot of the previous pitching contracts have been really big. Last year, Blake Snell got, this is again before accounting for deferrals, $182 million over, what was it, 5 years, right? If you want to take that into an AAV number, that is $36.5 million. You're not going to sit here and tell me that Dylan Cease is like 8 million AAV worse than Blake Snell. The gap isn't that big. I'm not saying he's better or as good as Blake Snell. Blake Snell's obviously a better pitcher, but it's not a damn near 10 million AAV gap. Right?
When you're looking at the comparables of contracts there, I think he not only fits in, he's better than most of the guys that are getting around that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's not like those contracts were just signed the same time, but the point is, it just goes to show that maybe it's not as big of an overpay as people want to make it out to be.
Exactly.
I don't think it is an overpay. I'm not going to say that it's like insane value. I think that's about what he's worth, but that means he's a very good, damn good pitcher.
Exactly. So. This is how free agency in baseball works. We've seen a lot of things like this over the years. We've seen a lot of guys go and get big contracts, and then a lot of people overreact. Everyone said Bryce Harper was getting overpaid. There was a good amount of Mets fans near the start of that deal where they were saying that Lindor was overpaid and they should trade him and this and that. Like, there's all of these things. It happens all the time. We, as a collective, we need to be serious human beings. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people have that capacity. Again, I saw a tweet saying that this was already a bottom 3 contract or pitching contract in baseball. That is a fucking meth head take.
First of all,
that's a heroin take.
Calling any contract bad before they even take the field for the team is a choice.
Mm-hmm. Especially when this is a proven like all-star caliber pitcher. He's been a Cy Young finalist in his career. Like
Yes,
and he's not that much, and he's still a really fucking good pitcher. It's not like he's fallen off a cliff. This is not like giving someone like Luis Severino like fucking $23 million a year. This is not the same fucking thing, right? This is not anything like that, right? Even if you want to say, oh, it's a little bit more than what he's worth, sure. If you want to say it's a couple million more, if you want to say he should have been around 27, 28, sure. Again, deferrals make it pretty close to that. But even if you want to not think about the deferrals, sure, I can get behind that line of thinking. But if you're going to tell me that this is a ridiculous contract, Nick said you can't act like this is a normal contract. That's not true. Lock in. Yeah, I think a lot of people just haven't fully adjusted to how big free agent contracts are getting, and so when they see things like this, they're like, "What the fuck?" I don't know. That's where I stand on it personally.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely don't see an issue with this contract by any means. I'm not just saying that because he's on my team. I saw a Nats fan. This is a pretty big Nats page, and he tweeted out saying yesterday after the contract, like after it was announced, he said, I'm not saying Dylan Cease is Max Scherzer by any means, but this feels like a move that pushes the Blue Jays over the edge like Scherzer did for the Nats, and people made fun of that signing at first.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there shows that sometimes if you want to win, you got to spend. The Dodgers are proof of that. The Dodgers are living proof. And it's one of those things. If you got the money, why not spend it?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, these are billionaire owners we're talking about. It's not like there's a hard salary cap where you have to, watch how much you're spending. If you have the money, you're going to spend it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's what I...
Yeah. Also, we'll talk about it for the team perspective, I guess. This is, exactly... I said this in a different thing in a publication I write for OTL. I said in that Discord, this is before free agency. I'd said, Cease is pretty much, exactly what the Jays need. They need a guy who, misses bats like a motherfucker. And one of the guys said, I think that Gausman and Bieber have proven they can miss bats. And it's sure... But Gausman's also had a little bit of decline on his stuff. Bieber's a bit of a question mark, and even then he was never that much of a bat misser. Dylan Cease is one of the best strikeout starters in baseball, and that is exactly what this Blue Jays team needs. He now also has the best defense in baseball playing right behind him. So any balls that are in play, it's going to go a lot fucking better than it did with San Diego and their fucking turbo dog shit defense. I don't really see a world this year where Dylan Cease is anything less than spectacular. And I really struggle to see a world where this contract doesn't age well, right?
Yeah.
This isn't me saying he's going to be an elite when he's 36, 37. As I said, you kind of live with those years when you give out a contract like this.
As long as he's elite till he's at least 30. Because that's the thing. He's not even 30 in terms of, he hasn't pitched a game at 30 years old yet.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the next time he pitches, he will be 30, but you know what I mean? It's not like you're giving this contract to a guy who's already 33 years old.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. And again, this is not us saying he's going to be this crazy pitcher when he's 35, 36, 37, whatever. There will be some drop-off. We've seen it in the last couple of years, Kevin Gausman, as good as he was in 25, he's not 22 or 23 Kevin Gausman, right? These are things that you
But look, he's still damn good.
But even so, these are things that you know these things when you sign the contract and you say, we're going to live with this, we want your prime years, right? We say this with all the big free agent contracts. Harper is not going to be prime Harper at the end of the Phillies deal. Juan Soto is not going to be prime Juan Soto at the end of the Mets deal. Ohtani's not going to be the fucking... Oh, fuck, I'd say that, but he's Ohtani, so who knows? He's not going to be the fucking demigod he is when he's at the end of that 10-year deal. But you live with that. You don't really care. If you're the team giving out the contract, you don't give a fuck. Because you are not paying him for when he's 38. You don't really care. That's not where the value of the contract is going to come from. the value of the contract is going to come from the prime of his career, which Dylan Cease is currently in.
Yeah, and now I have a question for you.
Let's hear it.
So, let's imply Jose Barrios is the 5 starter,
Yes.
right? Where does a rotation of Gossman, Cease, Savage, Bieber, Barrios rank among Major League Baseball?
I haven't thought about it too much, just because I haven't really
That's
thought
fair,
about
but
where.
like off the top of your head,
the top,
is it fair to say it's top 5? Like I don't see how it's not.
it's somewhere in the top 10 for sure. I think, because I think
it's for sure
the
around
problem
top 5.
the problem with the rotation last year was that you had a rotation of really like a bunch of like 2 or 3 starters. You didn't have that frontline guy. Even like, I know Gosman was really good at the tail end of the year, but realistically, you probably want him starting game 2. You want like a dominant, like, you want a guy.
I think Cease could be that guy.
And I think that's where Dylan Cease could slot in. He could be that. Gosman will probably be fine. You don't know what Savage is going to be, and you you have a level of confidence of what Shane Bieber can be. He's like, without accounting for, you don't know what he's going to be next year, because obviously he's still coming off the injury. We'll call him a 3 starter with upside. We'll call him that. It's definitely a top 10 rotation, because those are all really good pitchers. And even Barrios, as shaky as he is, if that's your 5 starter, you're totally okay with it. We said this at the deadline when they really needed starting pitching. The problem isn't that any single one of these pitchers is bad. It's that having someone like a Jose Barrios as your 3 starter is a lot more... It gives me a lot less confidence than having him as your 5 starter. Right? It's a lot different. Your rotation is also now, it's going to give you a lot more production it did last year. You're not going to be running out the Bowden Francis of the world. You're not getting those Max Scherzer starts. Chris Bassett was okay, but also, like, given everything else you're going to get, you're going to assume Savage is still going to be really good next year. You're going to assume Bieber is going to be another step closer to what he was. Gosman will still probably be fine, and then Cease is going to be Dylan Cease. And then you're hoping Jose Barrios covers okay from his, what was it, an elbow injury, I think it was? Or was it shoulder? I can't remember. Whatever landed him on the IL.
Yeah, one of the other.
It was one of the two. I can't remember. You're going to hope he recovers pretty fine from that. And at that point, you're hoping he's a good 5 starter. That's a really good rotation. Is it the best rotation in baseball? No. Would it be top 5? Maybe. I'd have to give it some more thought and look at all the other rotations around baseball. But it easily, I think, ranks in the top 10. I've seen people say that rotation's not very good, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I do understand that it's a lot less of like a certain thing, because Savage, as good as he was in the postseason, he's not a certain that he's going to be dominating in 26. That is a very understandable thing. That is far from a guarantee. It's also not a guarantee that Shane Bieber is going to be perfect in 26.
Yeah.
But you also have a lot of things that show you positive things with those two. So Savage being your 3 is like stupid ridiculous next year. Bieber's like your 4 starter. Like, what the fuck? Like, you have a lot of confidence in this rotation going into next year. And yeah, I think now, I mean, they got to go for bullpen, maybe a bat. They got to bring back the big dog. And then, you can go into 26 and you're chilling. I don't know if it ranks top 5, but it's definitely around... Off the top of my head, it's probably say somewhere between 5 and 10, but it could be top 5 if everything pans out how you want it to, easily.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good to see that the rotation isn't something that is going to be the problem or the Achilles heel of this team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the reason the Blue Jays, if they don't, have a great year, it's not because the rotation isn't good enough. At least right now, looking at it. Obviously things can change, but it's just it's good to see a rotation and think, yes, I'm excited for this. I feel good about this.
Oh yeah,
because our 5th starter is a 3 or 4 starter on most teams.
Our 5th starter was
I would say that's
not very long ago was like our opening day starter.
Yeah,
and albeit he's a good bit worse than he was, but like,
I mean, the big thing with him is the injury that he just had was like the first time he was on the IL in his major league career, which just goes to show how consistent he is at being able to pitch. If you can get a guy who just pitches and eats innings as your 5 starter, who can also give you high upside, you'll take that.
You don't even need Barrios to be like that good. Like, if he's like a 4.3 ERA guy, like, that's fine. If he's just a Chad innings eater, right?
Exactly.
You don't need him to be very good if he's your 5, because if you take the rotation now and you put in a playoff series, he's not starting, right? Like, you're running Cease, Gosman, Yasavage, Bieber, games 1 through 4. Like, Barrios is not getting a start in that. Hell, he probably wouldn't have gotten a start in the playoffs last year, even if he was healthy. I genuinely think he wouldn't have. I still think that Scherzer would have gotten the starts over him. I think Bassett probably would have been, I know he came out of the bullpen, but I think he would have been a candidate to get starts over him if you didn't want to do Scherzer for whatever reason. I don't think he would have started a playoff game last year. He's sure as hell, unless he fucking just becomes prime Pedro. He's probably not going to start a playoff game this year anyway, so if he's your 5, it's fine. It's not a big deal. If he's your mop-up guy, then he's probably he's pitching low leverage anyways, right?
Yeah.
I've heard, I saw a tweet saying that, maybe, it was from, someone was on a podcast or a show or something, I think it was Shai Davidi was on a show, said that something about a Barrios, like, swap or something. I don't really know what happens with that, because, I'll be honest, I don't really know what team wants his contract, because, to be honest, it's probably not too great of a deal. Yeah, I don't really know what team would want that contract, to be honest with you, but I mean, it is what it is, I guess. If you go into, I've said, if you go into 26, he's your 5 starter, you're happy. You're more than happy with that. You are thrilled with that, right? So it's good. It's good. Anyways, I think that's all we have to say on those things. I think we're ready to go to the main meat of the episode. It's the offseason. So you know what that means? It is ranking season. We are going to start our rankings every week. Well, not every single week. We're going to have some weeks where we talk about something else of the meat. But for a good chunk of now, till the WBC starts, a lot of the meat is going to be, we're going to be doing a lot of our player rankings through the offseason. We are going to start with backstops. The guys behind the plate, the motherfuckers who you look and you say, those guys will not be able to walk when they are 40 years old. They are cooked. That person will be playing first base by 35. They are fried. They're done. Poor those guys for how long they have to be squatting down there.
So for catchers, number 1 is Brandon Valenzuela, and that's the list.
That's the list, and we will see you guys next week now. But yeah, so me and Ethan, we put together our own individual list, and then we use that to make a combined list. We're going to be telling you guys our collective list, and then, I guess we'll also, say our collective list, our individual ones as well, just so that people can see how we arrived to each conclusion. There are parts where we were pretty close, and there's also a lot of pretty big discrepancies on our lists, so we're definitely going to go over those things. So, we'll start from 30, and then we'll work our way up. At number 30... we also, by the way, we did number 30. We did 30. I kind of just chose it because it was it's 1 for every team in theory. It just seems
obviously
like a cool number.
Teams can have multiple, but
yes,
30 is a good baseline for sure.
In theory, it's that's 1 per team. Of course, there's not every team has one on here because there's some teams that have multiple guys that are at those positions that are really good. But it is what it is.
The Blue Jays have 6. We included all their good prospects that are catcher. Yeah,
we did. We even included Dalton Varsho as a catcher. Former catcher Dalton Varsho, if you know, you know. Anyways, the down the line catcher list. Starting at number 30, we put Nick Fortes here. This tier of guys, you want to say maybe 30 through, you want to say 23 or something like that. This is the tier of guys where it's they're okay as a starting guy. Ideally, maybe they're a backup, but you don't love them playing every day. But if you have to start them every day, it is what it is, I guess, depending on your scenario. We put Nick Fortes at 30. He's not a super great offensive player, but he does have pretty solid glove back there, a pretty solid framing catcher. Catcher's also just a really important defensive position, framing, blocking. You see a lot of guys at catcher who aren't very good at hitting. The guys who do, obviously, it puts them way over the top.
Yes.
But at the same time, if you're not a good hitter and you're a really good defensive player, you're good at framing, that's still a really valuable player in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
I don't think Fortes is good enough to work his way on the higher end of the list. I had him at 28 on my list. He was barely made the list for me.
Yeah. defense is only going to get you so far. You're not going to crack the top 10 if you're a good defender, like, unless there's an exception. If you're like a good defender and you can't hit for shit, you're not going top 10.
Exactly.
For the most part. That's just how it works.
Exactly. That is just simply
unless
how it's
we'll get to it, but unless you're like a generational defender,
unless you're that guy. Then we'll get to...
we have a guy in mind, obviously.
Yes, and he's pretty fucking high up, and we will talk about it, but
yeah,
we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, we had Nick Fortes at 30. I guess we can each say now our own 30 on our individual lists. I personally had Tyler Stevenson at 30.
I had Luis Torrens.
Yeah, and then as the collective, we agreed, yeah, Nick Fortes can slide in there at the 30 spot.
Yeah.
Austin Hedges.
Another thing for the discrepancy is also volume, because
yes,
we
there's
were looking,
a lot of guys.
We didn't want to just say, like, okay, this guy is not top 30 because he may not have played a lot. Like, we want to get a good mixture of guys who played, who had the volume, guys who were good 2024, weren't the best 2025, and are a potential bounce back in 2026. That's at least how I curated my, like, bottom part of it.
Yeah. When I curated my entire list as well, I was like, combined with like, all right, what have you done last year, maybe 2? How does your actual player profile look? What are you good at versus not good at? How valuable are those things? Are those things going to translate to more success? Like, if I looked at someone's stuff and I said, well, they do this thing, and that's not very good, that's a regression sign, probably Fugazi year, then obviously I would drop them further. And, you know what I mean? If I saw the opposite, if I saw, oh, well, this guy does this thing, that's a pretty good indicator of potential success, then I would bump them up a little bit, or I'd give them a little bit more leeway, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure we both have a lot of that to some extent. But yeah. At 29, Austin Hedges, the guy whose framing will always keep him in a job. This is a guy who never has hit for shit, but his defense is ridiculous that it's always got him a backup catcher job. Like, literally always. He's just that level of being an elite defensive catcher. One of the best framing catchers in baseball, right? He's also not a hitter. Like, he is the spokesperson for when you get put in a serious situation and you're faded as fuck kind of thing. That he is the spokesperson for that. He is the headline. He is the mascot for something like that. But at the same time, his defense, different. His defense, and it always has been as well, like, all across his career, like I said, it's literally what's kept him in a job. He's just always been like that. Yeah, and it's always he's always had a spot on a roster because there's always room for guys like this. Like, he was in the 95th percentile in framing. 11 framing runs last year is really fucking good. One thing that we talked about when we were creating the combined list, Ethan, was like, around this tier, it's like mostly guys, yeah, in an ideal world, probably a backup catcher. The defense is the big separator for a lot of guys, because like if you're a backup catcher, you're gonna play on average, not in every single case, but you're gonna play every 3 to 4 days. Sound about right?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
In those cases, someone who's really good at blocking balls and framing stuff is just probably a lot more valuable than a guy who's gonna hit and maybe not give you as much defense. And that's why Hedges has always just had really good value.
Yeah. There's
no reason to see why he's like gonna regress. It's like, what, is his bat gonna get any worse? Like, okay. That wouldn't really do much to his value, I think, because you're not getting him for his bat anyways. And on top of that, he's still a really good defensive player. Like, he's gonna call a really good game. He's an elite framer. Like, that's what you're getting from him. I guess we'll say our individual list now. I had 29. I personally had Higashioka, and then he had Trevino. I had Hedges at 26. And we kind of compromised on putting him 29. Was he on your list? I don't think he was he?
No, he was like, he would be like 31, 32
31,
for
32.
sure.
So he just got left off here. We hit a little compromise. It's like, we'll put him 20. I'll put him right on the bottom end. Ethan,
Yes.
tell us, who's 28?
El Mago, Tyler Heineman.
Hell yeah. Our boy. Another really good defensive catcher. He actually had solid offensive output this year. Like Ethan, he had like a 120 WRC plus and like it was like 150 plate appearances or something. He didn't get that many PAs, but at the same time, when he did, he made value of it. Is he going to repeat that offensive production? No. But
if you look at both B WAR and F WAR, the majority of his WAR came in his 2025 season.
Yeah. Which
he was a Blue Jay on like 3 different occasions, and it's clear to see why. They saw something in him as a backup catcher that nobody else did, and it paid off last season. So
it did. They had overall one of the best catching tandems in baseball last year. Or sorry, you know what? I'll just go ahead and say they had the best catcher tandem in baseball.
And by catcher tandem, we mean getting production from both catchers. Because if we just meant, if we were including just what the starter did, then obviously you'd say like Seattle. But like,
they had the best tandem, like pretty easy, like because they have another guy, wink wink, who ranks near the top of the catcher list, and then they also have a guy who put up more total value in 25 than a lot of starting catchers. And he played like 60 games. Again, I don't think he's going to repeat this value, and I think you would probably agree with me, Ethan. Just because his bat just isn't like that. He's also going to be 35 next year. Like, he's not like he's progressing. But I don't really see any reason why he can't be a good backup catcher still next year. Like, again, he is also a really, really good defensive catcher. Even if he's not going to do anything with his bat, if his bat drops below a 300 WOBA, he is still 84th percentile framing, 81st percentile caught stealing, 88th percentile blocking. Like, he's really good defensively. And I don't know, a backup catcher, you take that. You absolutely take that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you're getting that kind of production from your backup, I mean, first of all, it's a testament to how good your starter is, which is nice. Because obviously he would be the start, like, you get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And also, when you have a guy ahead of him who's better and he needs the day off, it's nice to be able to know that you're not getting someone who's not going to be able to do anything. You're getting a guy who will be able to actually fill that void pretty nicely.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's just something that's super valuable on like a third or fourth a day or something like that. When your starting catcher, who also in this case is really good at those things too, is a day off or he's DHing or whatever. Now you have a guy who's still a really good framer. He's going to throw guys out on the bases. He's going to block. Not balls aren't really going to get past him. You're good. Like, you're good. It's a very solid thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
I personally had him at 21 on my list. I think he didn't make your list either, did he?
No, that's another guy who was just off of it. He was one of the guys who got a lot of consideration.
Yeah, so we hit that little compromise on hitting him at 28 on our collective list. Ethan, who is 28 on your personal list?
28 on my personal list was Jake Rogers, and that's one of the ones where I was more so thinking like, all right, he didn't have the volume that he had because of the emergence of another guy who we'll talk about. But based off of what he did the year prior and the year before that defensively, he was one of the better defensive catchers in baseball, which is why I valued him there. Yeah. Obviously, the bat isn't as good as, you would like it, but the defense is what put him on that list for me.
Yeah, and in this tier of catchers, that's kind of where I think a lot of these guys kind of fit into. Like, they're guys who just don't hit, but they're positive defensive players. I think most of the guys in this tier kind of fit that, I think.
Yes.
My 28 was Nick Fortes. We had him 30 on our combined list, so we'll go with that. Ethan, take us through 27.
So 27, we have Kyle Higashioka.
So Shout out Kyle Higashi.
Yeah, his favorite player. So yeah, Kyle Higashioka, he is not a bad bat by any means. I'm not gonna say he's some, great hitter, but he does the job. I would say he's about league average. And what really makes him, in my opinion, a top 30 catcher is just the fact that he is solid all around. You're not gonna get something overwhelmingly, incredible at anything, but you're not gonna see many weak spots in terms of his catching game. You'll see that he may not be the greatest at throwing guys out, but he's good at framing. He's good enough at blocking, and his bat is, enough to get him some starts as a backup. Obviously, you don't want him to be your starting catcher, but ideally, you don't want him as a starting catcher. But if you have to throw him in as a backup, I think he fits it nicely. Obviously, him being the starter for Texas, again, you could probably want someone a bit better, but all around he's a solid guy as at the position. And if he's your backup, you're very happy with it, which is why he's around the low end starter, high end backup range, which I think is fair for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, like, if you have to throw him out there, in addition to his good framing, he can run into he can run into one every once in a while, and then
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, he had 11 home runs last season, 17 the year before, and among catchers that are like, in terms of what catchers usually hit, that's not a bad total by any means, especially for somebody who's only getting 250 to 300 plate appearances plate appearances a year.
yeah, and yeah, if that's the kind of value you're getting out of someone who's splitting starts with somebody else, that's totally fine. He was
Yeah.
pretty close to being a league average hitter. Last year was 93 WRC plus, a little bit worse than 24, but I mean that's fine. Like, it's not really that big of a, not really think it affected his value that much. And some of these things, like, sure, he's going to be 36 next year, but I don't really think that I don't really think you're going to see a massive drop off from him. Like,
I think
framing's not something
this,
that's going to go anywhere.
This is about what you're gonna get from him.
Yeah.
So it's one of those guys where it's not like he has a year that's a complete outlier. 2024 was definitely a better year. I wouldn't say it was so much better to the point where it's an outlier. I would expect his production to be kind of similar to what it was in 2025. And if you get a little bit better, you get that OPS up to about 710, 715. I think that, he might even be able to jump the list to about 24, 25 even.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which isn't a huge jump, but it is it's a couple spots for somebody who's not seen as a top, like an elite catcher or anything. Because I think that's valid.
Yeah, absolutely. On our list, he made both of our lists. You had him at 25. I had him at 29. Put him smack dab in the middle at 27. Ethan, tell us, who was your personal 27, just as we go up?
My personal 27 was Victor Caratini.
Vic,
and you did not have him on your list, but I had him on mine. That's another one where it's kind of interesting, where it's like, he was kind of splitting time with a guy who's higher on our lists. The past 2 years, he had a 113, 104 WRC plus respectively. His defense in 2024 was better than it was in 2025 for sure. He was well above average in blocking, caught stealing, and framing. 2025, the block stayed the same, but he wasn't throwing guys out as much, and his framing took a hit, which is why I didn't have him higher. If he was able to do what he did defensively again, that in 2025 that he did in 2024, I would have honestly probably had him a couple spots higher as well. But since he did have that little fall off, and it's not a guy who's, consistently having the numbers he had in 2024, it was like, again, I don't want to say it's an outlier, but it was better than his 23 and 25. It's definitely, not the year that I want to put the most stock into. I'd rather put the stock into 25 with a guy like him, especially when he's splitting time and, obviously free agent now, but had he stayed with Houston, would still be the backup, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see how he could go much higher.
Yeah, I think that kind of would have been like the ceiling of where he would have ranked even if he did make my list.
Yes.
Obviously, I didn't have him on there, but that, if he did end up there, that's like the highest of where he would have been on there. So It is what it is. So that was your personal 27. My personal 27 was Danny Jansen. He's like a spot or two higher on our collective. We will get there momentarily. I'll take us up to 26. We had Tyler Stevenson as 26 on on our list. So this is a guy who, a lot of the guys in this tier, a lot of them kind of fall into that. Yeah, they aren't hitting quite as much, but they're good defenders that it kind of doesn't really matter as much. He isn't too much of a hitter. He's a better hitter than a lot of the guys in this tier, and I think that's a pretty easy conclusion to come to. He's not a good framer. Like, in fact, he's a really bad framer, but he's one of the best catchers in baseball at not letting balls go to the backstop, blocking balls and everything.
Yeah,
he's one of the best in the league.
And that's what's kind of interesting, because in 2024 he was below average. In 2023 he was below average. 2022 he was below average. But something happened in 2025 that just made him elite at that. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not going to pretend that I know what it is. But whatever he changed, whatever he fixed definitely worked. I could have even argued putting him a bit higher if he had the volume that he had in 2024, because his 2024 stats were good offensively. So, you know, I think that 26 is not an unfair position for him. I think, you know, that's around where I had him. But, yeah, I think that if he was able to kind of have as good of a season offensively as he did in 24, that could have put him even a bit higher.
Mm-hmm. And there is some stuff there that you like with his bat. He barrels a lot. He gets a lot of barrels. He doesn't chase. He has this pretty solid walk rate. So that's stuff that kind of leaves you with a bit of confidence in his bat, I think. And I think that if maybe a little bit of luck goes his way or something like that, or maybe a little bit of adjustment, maybe he whiffs a little bit less in 26, then you could see those rate stats get a little bit closer to where they sat in 2024. You factor that in. You also factor in his blocking. Again with his blocking, like, he's never been this good at blocking balls. He's had years where he's maybe been like around average or below. I'm not going to pretend like I am super tapped into Tyler Stevenson and that I would know what the reason for this is. I'm sure that any Reds fans listening that are super in tune, I'm sure they would probably be able to give a pretty good answer on that. But regardless, it happened. He's really good at it. We will see if that goes back in the other direction in 26. We'll see if it happens. Because for all we know, he could stay this good. He could be good again, but maybe 75th percentile, or he could go back to where he was before, and then pretty much all that defensive value is just lost. We'll see with him, but yeah, there's definitely things to like with his bat, and he definitely changes the tier a little bit. He's a lot different of a player than guys in this tier, I think. So there's where he stands right there. We both had him on our list as well. You had him a little bit higher than I had him on mine. Well, actually, a good bit higher. You had him at 22, Ethan. I had him at 30. That's how we kind of met in the middle. We did 26. Ethan, who was your personal 26?
My personal 26 was Bo Naylor.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Bo Naylor, I like, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, the reason why I had Bo Naylor there was just because, first of all, I like the way, the type of player he is. I think there's obviously room for improvement. It's kind of similar to Higashioka in the sense of, he's not, in terms of defense at least, he's not really bad at anything, but he doesn't excel at anything. He's kind of just an average player. His stats weren't the best last season, and it was one of those ones where I was kind of, again, projecting, seeing, he can improve off of it. But his defense being steady is kind of what led me to put Naylor there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mess with that. This 26 is where I had Hedges, and then we had the little compromise there. 25 on the collective list was Danny Jansen. Traded at the deadline to Milwaukee, currently a free agent right now. This is a guy who over the course of his career, I think you'll probably agree with me, he's had a lot of change in his player profile over the course of his career. When he first came up, he was a stupidly good defensive catcher who could not hit water if he fell out of a boat. And then...
Yes, 2019 defensively was unbelievable. He was one of the best blockers and framers in baseball.
Yeah, but he was not hitting a damn thing. And then not long after that, he becomes like around like 22. His framing takes a drop. He's still good at blocking, and then all of a sudden he's hitting the shit out of the ball. He's pulling the ball a lot. He's hitting for a lot of power, and
doesn't chase a lot. Doesn't
exactly.
really swing and miss a lot in general. I mean, obviously the whiff percentage dropped this year, but he still walks. Still doesn't swing at garbage, which is obviously good.
Yeah, and then he became like this stupidly good power hitter for a catcher. And then, you go to now, and his offense has definitely taken a step back. The strikeouts are a lot higher. He's not hitting the ball as hard. He's not getting as many barrels. Those kinds of things. Yes. His defense is also not as good as it was pretty much at any point of his career. He's still elite. He's still an elite blocker, right?
Yeah.
98th percentile blocks above average, plus 14. But his framing is in the 9th percentile. His caught stealing is in the 13th percentile. You don't love that. It's not what you want. It's not what you want. It's kind of hard to argue otherwise, to be totally honest. With all of that in mind, there's a thing to think about. It's like, okay, is there a way that he can maybe get back to maybe not like 2022 where his expected slugging was 511, but is there a way that he can maybe get it to somewhere in the 400s, maybe a 430, 440 mark? I think that's a reasonable hope. I think that's a very reasonable hope for someone like this, especially considering he still pulls the shit out of the baseball. And he hits a lot of balls in the air. 32.7% pulled air ball rate. That is stupid.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. That, in a lot of parks, will play. Simply put. That, he didn't have enough plate appearances to qualify for leaderboards or anything like that. But that pulled air rate would have ranked 3rd in baseball last year. Only behind Kyle Raleigh and Isaac Paredes. It would have ranked ahead of guys like Spencer Torkelson, Max Muncy, Kyle Schwarber, Jose Ramirez. He's got it. So, there is some reason to believe that it can get a little bit better. Again, I'm not saying it's going to get expected slugging over 500. Because I think putting that expectation on him after the year he just had, where his expected slugging was 344, is kind of insane. But there's reason to believe that you can see some sort of improvement there. You gotta figure out some of the launch angle, I think, maybe, because it's solid, right? But I'm trying to think of things here. I think what's happening with Jansen now is there's a lot less line drives and there's a lot more like fly balls. I think that's kind of the thing with him. So
but like you said, his profile's changed a lot. He's constantly
like pop-ups
changing
too.
in terms. Yeah, he's currently changing in terms of his approach and his game, which isn't bad. It shows his adaptability. Obviously, if he can kind of find the right mixture of different things, and find something that works to all of his abilities, that would be nice. But at this point in his career, it just seems like being this adaptable, above average guy is what he is. It's not like he's gonna just magically overnight become a top 10 catcher and figure literally everything out.
Yeah, no.
But definitely, a solid catcher, which is why he makes our top 25.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a solid backup option. There's definitely like upside there. If you did get him as a starter, although it wouldn't be an ideal option, but there's upside. Like there's something there, I'm sure. Like hopefully he figures something out. Am I super confident in it? I don't know about that fully, but it is what it is. Our personal 25s, I guess I'll do mine first, because I don't know. I had Yanier Diaz on my personal 25. Ethan, you had?
I had There, that's when I had
Yeah,
Higashioka.
that's where you had Higashioka. All right, Ethan, tell us, who was our
Yes,
collective 24? Tell the people.
Bo Naylor, who I just was talking about there.
Yep. So that is, again, I'm saying it a lot because a lot of these guys kind of fit this mold around here. Um, I mean, there's definitely things that you can look at in that bat and be like, oh, okay, like, there's something there. It doesn't whiff a whole lot, doesn't chase, solid walk rate, um, good at throwing guys out, good at blocking. Isn't a super good framer, but we've actually seen him in the past be a positive framer. Like in 2024, he was like 91st percentile framing. This year it drops all the way down to 24. If they could even get back to around middle of the pack, that's going to do wonders for his kind of value.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, there's a little bit of projection there. What are you projecting for him in 26? Would you say that?
For Bo Naylor?
Yeah.
Uh, like, it's just a little bit of the fact that he's still kind of young, and we have seen, I don't want to say the same level of, profile changes as Danny Jansen, but his defense improved from 23 to 24. It took a little bit of a hit in 25, uh, but we saw different things. We saw him hitting for more power, for just more extra base hits in general. He's walking more. He's striking out less compared to 24. It just looks like he's steadily getting better at a bunch of different things. And he definitely sacrificed a bit more power and, slugging and on base for average. So he's not looking to just hit singles. He's looking to do more damage and get on base more. So I think if he can continue working on that, he'll be able to kind of figure out what works for him. And it's not like I said with Danny Jansen, where he's still 25 years old, he can still change and become even better. Whereas Danny Jansen, we have an idea of what he is. Bo Naylor, we can expect to take a jump, get back to where he was 24 defensively, maybe even improve more. And the bat is just, that could also get better with time.
Yep. Yeah, definitely solid stuff from Bo. Could definitely see him having something like that. He was my 24 on my personal list too. So
Yeah.
we both have ideas for him. You already said it. You had Danny Jansen at your 24 there.
Yeah.
So while we're at it, why don't you tell us who the 23 was?
The 23 was Yanir Diaz, that's who I was talking about when talking about Victor Carantini not getting the starts. It was Yanir Diaz. That's also somebody who is on the younger side, obviously older than Bo Naylor, but 23 and 24, or not Carantini, Yanir Diaz's bat was good for sure. It took a bit of a hit last season, but us, we value our defense, and that's where he improved on for the most part. Definitely, in terms of at least in terms of like on like Fangraphs defensive value. Obviously, if you look at more specifics, his throwing guys out is above average. His blocking went a bit down, and his framing kind of went down. But in terms of his, throwing guys out, that's still up there. His bat has also declined, like I said, but that's something where I feel like he can figure it out. He's still a 20-plus home run hitter. He still has that power. The big thing is that he doesn't walk a lot. If he could kind of figure out a way, if he can figure out a way to be a bit more patient and wait for his pitch and not be like, swinging, which is obviously easier said than done, that could bump him up. But that's one of the reasons why I feel like he is where he is on the list and not higher, because this is somebody who is a talented hitter. I mean, when he actually puts bat on ball, he's very good at it. Unfortunately, a lot of the time he misses the ball, which is a pretty big problem to have.
The big thing, he swings at a lot of really bad pitches, and what ended up happening for him a lot in 25 is it resulted in a lot more like weak contact for him. He chased more, but he actually, ironically, his whiff rate actually went down by not, it wasn't like even a full percentage point, but still went down. And so when you're we how often have we talked about this with the Jays a lot, because this is kind of a big part of what made them such a much better team in 25. You let that outside slider, you let it go, right? Instead of swing at it, trying to make contact, and then now it's a weak chopper to the second baseman, right? You either let it go, or even if you whiff, it's not a big deal. Now it's 0-1 or it's 1-1 or whatever, right? And you get a better pitch to hit, hopefully, on the next one, right?
Yeah.
That seems to be what happened a lot more with Diaz this year, because like his hard hit rate plummeted. He went from 85th percentile, 47.5% hard hit rate, all the way down to 45th percentile, 42.2% hard hit rate. So, I mean, obviously he was chasing a lot last, like in 24 as well, and even 23 when he had about like half a year's worth of plate appearances. He was chasing a lot both years. I'm not going to sit here and act like he was ever a really disciplined hitter, that he was really ever patient. He never was. He never has been. But the thing is that, especially in the last 2 years, it feels like he's trying to sell out for contact a little bit more. In 23, he whiffed a good bit more than he has either the last 2 years, and he hit for a lot more power. He, on a rate basis, was one of the best power hitting catchers in the league in 23, and that seems to have kind of gone away, right? Like in 250 more plate appearances in 24, you hit 7 less home runs. And again, with the big decrease in whiff rate, I'm not saying that whiffing is like a good thing, but it's the selling out for contact that seems to be kind of what he's doing, and it seems to kind of be going against him.
Yeah.
And then, all the other stuff. We'll see if that ends up getting better in 26, but I personally don't really put much faith in a bat that, there isn't really much there, for me at least, that says, yeah, I think he's going to be a lot better in 2026. Guys who chase, guys who swing at really bad pitches, it's kind of hard to project them to do really well, So,
yeah,
that's why we have him around this tier. He was, 23 here. You had him 23 on your list as well. I had him 25 on mine, so
yeah,
it's around, around this tier. I think this is kind of where he fits. So yeah, we'll go to 22 right now. We had Pedro Pages on our collective list right here. What have we said so many times about guys in this tier? They might not hit a lot, but behind the plate, they're giving you some damn valuable defense. Pedro Pages, although he did not have as much, plate appearances, as much volume, or whatever. Honestly, less player appearances for him might be a good thing. Was one of the better defensive catchers in baseball last season. 87th percentile framing, 73rd percentile in throwing runners out. Again, not a hitter. I'm not even gonna. I'll be honest with you, he doesn't do much well offensively at all. I guess he has above average bat speed. That's kind of it.
His savant page in terms of offense is so blue, you'd think you're looking at the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, you would think you're looking at a body of water. Yeah, it doesn't.
I mean, again, you're not putting him on this list for his offense.
Exactly.
I actually didn't have him on my list, but that was one of the guys who just missed out, because his defense is very, very valuable. But I mean, there's just not many redeeming qualities offensively.
To the offense,
the only thing he has going for him is his bat speed is about average, and that's about it.
Yeah, there isn't really much going for the guy here. In terms of offense, respectfully.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and act like he's, the secret gem. Like, no, we know what he is. He's a really good defensive catcher. He doesn't hit. Again, that's kind of this lower tier of catcher. It would be probably an ideal backup, right? High-end backup. When you're this good defensively, that's someone you can roll out every fourth day, whatever. Third, fourth, fifth day, whatever it ends up being. And you're fine with that, right?
Yeah.
You like the game calling, you like the framing, it's going to help your pitcher a lot. even guys that have a 120 WRC plus, they go over. And if you're putting that out every third, fourth day, and he's not good at defense, it's not as valuable as someone like this. So, I had him at 22 as list on my list as well. I know you said he wasn't on yours. You had someone on your list here at 22. I didn't have him on mine, and he also missed on the collective list as well. I want you to talk to me. I want you to talk to us about this guy.
Logan O'Hoppe. Yeah, so again, it's one of those guys that I was saying who it's more so I'm betting on a potential bounce back for him. We saw in 23 and 24 his bat's an above average bat. It's tricky with the defense because 2023 wasn't great for him defensively. 2024 he was average in about everything defensively, blocks, catching, stealing, and framing. And then 2025, it really plummeted. I like the upside with that bat a lot. I think he can definitely maintain and be like a 105 to 110 WRC plus bat. And if his defense is mid, then that paired with being above average offensively does pair nice. 14, 20, and 19 are his home run totals. If you could put together 105, 110 WRC plus with the 20 home runs and average defense, I definitely would put him roughly around just outside the top 20. But obviously we need to be able to see that from him again. If he can go back to kind of how he was in 24, then we could revisit this conversation. But on base of 258, his slugging dropped by 30 points. It's just kind of hard to, put him there right now.
Yeah, O'Hoppe, this is a couple years ago. He looked like he was going to be one of those guys for the Angels, right? Was slugging like a motherfucker when he first came up. It was kind of insane.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't really been doing that this year. Wasn't doing it as much last year, but again, with how he was last year with mid-tier defense, yeah, he can take it if he's okay offensively. I think the thing is, if you're not a good defensive catcher, you need to be a good hitter, and if you're not a good offensive catcher, you kind of need to be at least okay defensively. And in 25, he was neither. He was bad at everything, right? If he can get back to the way that he was hitting the ball in 23 and such, he's barreling a lot more. He still barreled a decent amount this year, but even so, he struck out a lot more. There was a lot more whiff in his game. If he can get back to that level of production that he was, putting up damn near an 800 OPS, albeit a really small sample size for him in 23, if he can get back to that and maybe even improve his defense a little bit, he doesn't even have to be necessarily a good defensive catcher. With that level of bat, a 40th percentile defensive catcher will do, I think. 45th even will do, and that's both below average. I think that would be totally fine overall. The question is, will he do that? We will see. He's only 25, so he very well could get right back to it next year. And then the Angels suddenly look a lot better. Their future looks a lot brighter if he's able to do something like that. But we will have to see. Yeah, I mean,
for sure. If you could get a catcher of that caliber offensively with, passable defense. We're not saying he needs to be, somebody obviously like Austin Hedges. That I could name other guys, but I don't really want to talk too much about guys that we haven't gone to yet. Yeah. But, if we're not asking him to give, elite defense, just good enough defense,
Yeah, so...
And speaking of good defense, at number 21...
Luis Torrens. When I was making my list, when I was looking through, I was thinking about tandems as well, right? Obviously we know Toronto is a really good tandem. I already put another...
This is another very good tandem.
This is another really good tandem, and a big part of it is Luis Torrens. And this guy is a stupid, sneaky, under-the-radar guy for this year. He was so fucking good. Francisco Alvarez was out with an injury and then backing up and whatever. He was stupid good for them last year. His bat wasn't spectacular, but he also underperformed his XWO by 60 points. He got...
I was about to say... If you look at his peripherals, he had some really nice numbers. I mean, for example, his batting average was 226. His expected batting average was 279. That's one of many stats where he excelled at in terms of expected stats. He had good exit velos. He, had a lot of hard hit balls. He didn't chase much, didn't swing and miss much, didn't really strike out a ton. So it is kind of, shocking to see how low his numbers were. He got very unlucky.
Yeah, he didn't like walk a whole lot, and I guess like the batted ball profile isn't like perfect. Like he hits a lot of balls in the air to the opposite field, which you would ideally want that more to the pull side, but even so, you wouldn't think that's a 60-point underperformance, right? I would never think that. Underperformed his expected slugging by over 100 points.
Right.
Like, I don't think he's going to be a 120 WRC+ bat next year in whatever sample he ends up getting, 200, 300, whatever plate appearances. But he showed a lot of things that he can be a productive catcher even with his bat to whatever degree. Like you said, he was hitting the ball really hard. He does not chase. He does not whiff. Those are all really good qualities. He's also a stupid good defensive catcher as well. Is one of the best catchers in all of baseball at throwing guys out. Are you ready? The 100th percentile for him. Isn't it beautiful? It was really good. That was the guy. He was actually the best catcher in baseball at throwing guys out. Catchers caught stealing above average. The best in baseball. Ahead of guys.
One of the best pop times, too.
Yup, he was ridiculous at that. Yeah. He's also a really good framer, 82nd percentile. You pair all of those things together, that's a really good player.
Yes, and obviously we'll talk more about his, partner at catcher, but safe to say that the mixture of his defense and the bat of Alvarez is a very nice pairing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. That's a really nice player here. I was like, in my head, I was like, well, there's some starter. Like, on my personal list, I had like the odd starter here below him, and I was like, fuck, do I really want to do that? Because like, obviously he was backup and the volume wasn't there, but I was also like, fuck, he was just that good that I don't even know. I don't really think I can put him behind whoever, whatever. So yeah, that's where he ends up being on our collective list. He was 21. 21 on our personal list. This is where I had Tyler Heineman. And you had...
For which number did you say?
21.
21? Yeah, I had Stevenson, who we talked about already.
Yeah, we talked about already. Alright. Ethan, talk to me.
Now, number 20. We have Bart, and that's Joey, not Simpson. So,
Banger Fortnite
Joey Bart...
by the way.
That's the guy from Fortnite. Not Joey Bart, Simpson, obviously. Joey Bart, maybe. I mean, there's a Shohei skin. Maybe Joey Bart gets his own skin soon.
Wait, Shohei skin in Fortnite? Were you dead ass?
Oh, you haven't seen it?
Wait, no, I've never seen this. Wait, what the fuck? Wait, hold on, let me look this up.
Oh, I'm being dead here. I'll send you a picture. There's also like a pickaxe, and there's a back bling that's his dog Decoy.
Oh fuck! Wait, never mind. I've seen this.
Yeah,
I've seen this. I forgot about this.
I was excited because I thought they meant we're getting like, he also has a samurai skin. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's him as like a samurai.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm seeing both of them. You know what? I remember seeing these actually. I completely forgot these existed.
Yeah, I really I wish we got NBA and NFL skin variations of it where it's like you could customize the number and the jersey and like what team and stuff, but unfortunately not yet. So one day, hopefully, I want to be able to be like, Vladdy or like...
Shout out Fortnite, where you can have Shohei Ohtani and Peter Griffin and fucking Will Byers and Sabrina Carpenter in one fucking squad. Pull a whole fucking squad wipe. Anyways, Ethan, you were saying.
Yeah, Joey Bart. So, Joey Bart is he's had an interesting career. So... he was one of the top prospects for the Giants back in the day, like 7 years ago, around there.
He was picked second in the draft, right? something like that.
Yes, he was second overall in 2018. So the thing with him is that he never really panned out with the Giants. He got the chances. He had some flashes where it's like, all right, this could be good, but he couldn't really put it together. The Pirates decided, you know what? Let's try something here. Why not? We're not the strongest on the catcher position, despite taking a guy first overall. And they said, you know what? Let's give this guy a shot. First year there, 2024, played 80 games, 282 plate appearances, 121 WRC plus, the highest mark of his career. Again, not a big sample size, but at the time was the second most amount of plate appearances he had in a season. It was a very big jump, and it looked like, okay, maybe he found himself a home. 2025, he kind of took a step back. But offensively, there's something there. And it's not, it's not something that you should ignore. Because the jump we saw him take in Pittsburgh, it's like, okay, this is like a complete different player than what we saw with the Giants. Mm-hmm. Complete different player as in he's actually, doing more than just being able to hit home runs. Obviously, we didn't see the home runs in 2025 that we saw in 24 and 22, but, he kind of was doing a bit of other things. His walk rate drastically improved, which is good to see. He was taking pitches, so his on base took a nice jump. He wasn't slugging nearly as much, and I'm not even going to say it was really too unlucky. Yes, the expected numbers were higher than the actual numbers, but even the expected numbers weren't as good as you'd like them. But definitely took a step offensively with the Pirates than he did with the Giants, and I could see him continue to improve on that. If he could kind of mix in his patience and his eye that he had this year with his actual power and slugging that he had in 24, offensively, he'd be very good, I think. And again, I'm not saying he's going to be 121 WRC plus at bat every year, but again, if he can maintain around 115, 110, then that makes him, a good offensive catcher and exactly what Pittsburgh needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that he can be like an okay enough defensive catcher. He wasn't like great last year. He's shown before that, for stretches at least he can be like okay. I mean, like you said, you put all that together, that can be a good catcher. That can be a pretty nice player. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you said it pretty much perfectly. I don't really have anything to add there. I had him 23 personally on my list. You had him at 20, so we got the little combined win there. Ethan, take us. Who do we have at 19?
At 19, we have Kyle Teal.
This is a guy.
Kyle Teal of the Chicago White Sox.
This is a guy, man.
Yes, it is a guy. So, obviously, they acquired him in a pretty big trade that sent ace Garrett Crochet to the other Sox. And yeah, so Kyle Teal was definitely a, very highly touted prospect. He's coming off a rookie year in which he showed just what he can do with that bat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very clear as to why that was one of the guys the White Sox wanted in that trade. I mean, he boasted a 125 WRC plus. He slugged 411, had an xWOBA of 337. I mean, the numbers look good. And with a guy like him who's only 23 years old, there's only improvement to be had, you gotta think.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't chase a lot, he walks a lot. Obviously there's stuff he can work on. Defensively, he's not quite there yet, but this is a complete unfinished guy. This is somebody who, he put up great numbers in limited time in the majors, and this is somebody who I think is I think a big 2026 is in store for him. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say with his bat.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Like, he's gonna be he's gonna be a good hitter. He's gonna be a good contact hitter. Like, he doesn't chase. He's gonna make solid contact. I don't think he's gonna be like a big power guy ever.
No. Maybe
he becomes like a 15 home run guy at his peak, but he's gonna be like a pretty good contact hitter, not necessarily a slap hitter. I don't think. And in his limited time, he was a solid defender. He was an okay defender. He was around mid-tier framing. blocking and caught stealing wasn't super great, but I'm sure that'll improve at least a little bit as he just, develops a little bit more as a catcher. He was a first-round pick, for Christ's sake. Like, it's going to get a little bit better for him, I'm sure. He had just short of 2 WAR in just under 300 plate appearances. Like, that per 650 is north of 4 wins, right? His 20-25 pace was really, really good. He gets on base a lot, which is really valuable. I don't think that it's super crazy to say that, at least in terms of an offensive player, obviously, like, the whiff is a lot more, like, a thing. Maybe not total player profile, but, like, similar offensive output, I think, to, like, someone like Alejandro Kirk. I don't really think that that's too far off from what he can end up being like. Obviously, Kirk is a lot better at putting the bat on the ball than Teal is, at least right now, and we'll see if Teal ends up improving on that to some degree. But, like, this is 2 guys who don't have a lot of power, but they're good contact hitters. They get on base a lot. That's where they really excel in offense. And again, we'll see how Teal's defense ends up developing. We'll hope it ends up getting a little bit better this season. But yeah, whether it's big 26 can definitely be in store. Definitely a high ceiling there. And yeah, we'll see what happens in 26. But there's a lot of good things from him there. The only kind of weird thing with him is for a lot of 2026, and we'll end up seeing what they decide to do or what happened a lot in 25, excuse me, and we'll see how much it happens in 26, is there was a lot of Edgar Cuero in that lineup as well with him. So they're trying to develop like 2 catchers at the same time. Now, Edgar Cuero wasn't good, right? Like, he was a negative for them. He was a below replacement level player for them last year. And obviously, again, he's 22. Like, I'm sure he will get better as well. I wonder if, to some extent, they're going to have to choose one of the catchers, or if they're going to be able to find a way to maybe put one at DH, one behind the dish, or something like that, or one gets moved, or whatever the hell ends up happening there. Because I don't think that you can keep running. I don't think you can try to develop both at the same time. I just don't think you can do that. I think you kind of need to pick one to develop. As a catcher, you could always put one at DH and just say, listen, this is the one that's going to be our catcher, behind the dish, all that. You're going to be this, right? You can do that, right? Maybe you say one goes to first base or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing ideas out there without really thinking too hard about them. Or trade or whatever. But I don't think you can do the 2 at the same time. You got to pick one. You can't try to develop 2 catchers at the same time. Guys are in and out of the lineup. I think whichever one they do end up choosing, again, I would choose Teal, and I imagine you would probably agree with me.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. 100%.
It would bode a lot better for their development. It would bode better for their bat. It would bode a lot better for their defense, whichever one they end up choosing. But yeah, I think that there's a little bit of a weird thing there, and we'll see how that goes in 26, because that's definitely going to have an impact on what we get out of Kyle Teal and how that ends up impacting his 2026. I hope that they just kind of stick with one, and again, if I had a say, it would just be Teal, but it's a thing to look out for. But yeah. We'll move next up on the list. Actually, sorry, at 19 in our collective list, I had Kyle Teal. This is where I had him.
I had Teal one spot.
Yeah, you had him at 18.
19, I have the guy who we have at 18, Ryan Jeffers.
Ryan Jeffers, baby. Kind of a trade candidate, too. I don't know if you've been seeing stuff. I've kind of seen, like, light trade talks. I've been like, oh, maybe he gets moved to this spot. Jeffers is not necessarily, like, amazing at any one particular thing. He's just kind of, like, okay at a bunch of things. He's an okay hitter, was a 753 OPS last year, and that's not a bad mark at all. That is totally cool. That's a 113 WRC plus bat. That is good. Is he a good defensive catcher? Not necessarily, but is he, like, awful? No, he's a little bit below average in framing. He's not the worst defensive catcher out there. He's just not the best bat out there. He's just kind of a solid player overall. He's just fine, you know?
Right.
There is things to like in his bat though that could potentially improve. Like he doesn't chase, he doesn't whiff, he walks, those kinds of things. The problem is he doesn't hit the ball very hard. That's the problem with his bat at least. He also isn't really that great at blocking. But there's qualities there. The guy gets on base. That's his offensive output is overall enough to make him a top 20 catcher.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the home run numbers weren't there last season that we're used to him. I mean, 2021 he had 14 home runs and 293 plate appearances. 2 years ago, 14, 355, and then the year before this one, 21 and 465. He had 9 and 464, but he improved on other things. I mean, his on base percentage went up from 24. His average went up from 24. His xWOBA went up. His WRC plus went up. So it's clear that he sacrificed a bit of home run power for a bit of more things. Striking out less and walking more too is also nice. I mean, if he could find a nice balance and kind of get a couple more home runs added without sacrificing much of anything else, that would be ideal. But I don't think the home run number being at 9 is too concerning. I think that it will go back to a bit normal.
Yeah.
As, his career ISO was 180, which includes last year's 131. And if you look at what he did from 21 to 24, basically, not including his rookie year and not including this past year, the ISO was 198. So it's definitely something that we can see jump up a bit for him hitting for more power. And not only can we see it, I think it's expected.
Yeah, like he's cracked 200 ISO multiple times in his career. He pulls the ball. He pulls the ball in the air. Like I don't really think him getting back to somewhere between 15 and 20 home runs. I don't really think that that's far out of the picture. In fact, I'd say it's rather likely, actually.
Yeah.
If I had to, I would probably, if you had to say he's going to hit over 15 or under 15, I'm kind of slamming the over. Like, pretty easy on that. Like, he has pretty solid enough offensive, quality of contact numbers that when you factor in his batted ball profile is like pulling the ball in the air and stuff, that can be a 15 to 20 home run guy again. I don't really see why not. Especially considering like when he was doing those things, he was like a worse hitter. I say that as he had a 136 WRC plus a few years ago, but like when he was doing these things, he was like, all right, he's chasing a lot, he's whiffing a lot. He doesn't do those things anymore, right? He has a lot better process at the plate in 2025 than he did before. So I have a really hard time believing that he is going to now just lose a bunch of offensive output. I have a hard time believing that, and I'd probably assume that it's going to bounce up. Maybe his on-base drops a little bit, but I have a hard time believing he's not going to get at least some power back, Yeah. Somewhere between 15 and 20, I'd say, is a pretty surefire one there. But anyways, you said you had him at 18, at 19, excuse me, on yours. I had him at 17 on my list. 18 is where I had Luis Torrens. So I had him pretty high. We already talked about him, so we won't go over it again. 17, we had Old Man Unk, JT, Rio Muto.
Current free agent.
There's a few places, maybe you could end up going, but that's not really the point here. He has definitely taken a step back a little bit. The bat is not what it used to be. The framing
he used to be
one
of the best defensive catchers in baseball. And
yeah.
Right now he's still good enough, great at getting runners out, but aside from that, not the best. I put him higher on my list because I give him the benefit of the doubt with his bat, because he's been consistently a good hitter for the past 9 years or so. This was his first time with a WRC plus under 100 since he was 24 years old back in 2015. It's one of those guys where, again, he's getting up there in age, so it's not like, it's not like he's going to see an insane jump in offense, but I would like to think that it was more of, a down year, and I don't expect him to, go back to being what he was in his first couple years in Philly, last couple years in Miami, where he's like a 125 WRC plus bat. but I don't think 105, 110 is out of the equation.
I wouldn't say it's out of the equation. I personally am of a little bit of a different thought process here. I had him ranked a lot lower. You had him at 13.
Yeah.
I had him at 20, and this is kind of us trying to meet in the middle here. I don't love his bat going into next year. A big thing that concerns me is he chased a lot more this year than he did last year. Usually plate discipline is something that you just kind of have. It doesn't age in, it doesn't age out, anything like that. Maybe you kind of learn it a little bit, I guess, as you are in the league, but it's usually not something that goes with age, right? And for all I know, maybe that ends up getting a lot better next year, right? Maybe it was an approach thing, or who knows.
Right.
But based on what I see here, it's not a super, like, that's not something that I look at and I'm like, oh yeah, like, that's a thing that I look forward to. When you also factor in, yeah, he throws runners out. He's not good at blocking balls. He's one of the worst framing catchers in the league. I do understand, by the way, we've been talking a lot about framing, and this is something we said on the pod before. We know ABS is going to come in 2026. It's not going to wipe out framing, or at least it probably won't. Like, you're going to still get a lot of framing, and framing is still going to be very valuable. Is it going to be as valuable as before? No, but the drop-off is not going to be nearly as insane as I think some people think or thought. Regardless, though, going into 26, I don't have too much faith in Real Muto's bat bouncing back. Like, he doesn't do a whole lot of things great on offense anymore. Like, he doesn't hit the ball that hard. He chases. He doesn't really walk that much. And again, he's going to be 35. That's why I had him a lot lower. That plus his defense, he's like, okay, he's a... If you have to play him every day, he's a serviceable starting catcher if you need him to be. Is he ideal? Not really. He's kind of been like a 2-win player the last couple years. This is kind of just, I think, who he is at this point in his career. I don't really see him bouncing back to even being like a 2.5 or 3-win player or something like that. I don't.
That's fair.
I don't really think that that's in the cards. Maybe he does it. I mean, fuck, we saw George Springer go from being a cooked product to being on MVP ballots.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to become elite again.
Oh yeah,
I
just
think that based off, I just think based off his track record of being a guy whose WRC plus has ranged over the past couple of years, around the 110 mark. I think that the last 2 years being 107, 101. I don't think it's crazy to say 105 is like no. I hear you. I don't think it's out of the question. I just I would bet against it if I had to. I just personally, on what I see, I don't have as much faith in it. But is it out of the question? No, not really. Especially because like a 105 WRC plus isn't that much to ask for. It's just like, especially when it was a 94 last year. It's not like he dropped to like a 70 or something.
Yeah, you're not asking him to go to 130. Like, that's not a super crazy jump.
No,
it's not a super crazy ask. So we'll end up seeing how that goes. We already said where we had those guys. I said who I had at 17. I had Jeffers. You had Adley Rutschman at 17. Who we're now going to get to here. This is the Adley Rutschman ranking, and I originally said, and I mean I said this to you right before we got on, I had him originally a lot lower, and then I was like, hold on. Let me think about this really quick. He's still a really good defensive catcher, right? You can't take that away. He's still a good framer, above average blocking. He doesn't chase, he doesn't whiff, he walks, he doesn't strike out.
That's the big thing. Like, the one thing that'll stick with him, that's stuck with him throughout his whole career, is the fact that he walks a lot, doesn't strike out a ton.
And I think that's kind of what a lot of people are hoping for in a potential bounce back, whether it's with the Orioles or whether it's with another team. That's a lot of things. Like, that's good process, right?
Yes.
We say that word a lot. Process. How are you trying to do the thing? Because that, a lot of the time, will inform how it probably may or may not end up going. If he was a guy who chased a lot, swung at a lot of shitty pitches, I probably would have had him in the 25 range. Something like that, 20 to 25. But he does these things really well. I don't think it's out of the question that he bounces back, and even as like a 2.5 win player next year. And I don't really think that that's a crazy ask for him. in 2025, like obviously it was his worst year of his career. He was barely a 1-win player. He was a 91 WRC plus in a little over 350 plate appearances. He was not good, right? He was not very good. He was a little bit above average defensively. He was fine defensively. He was fine. He was like okay, and like he was below average to the bat. It's not good, right? When people say that Adley Rutschman has fallen off, it's not because he's a terrible player. It's because he went from being one of the top catchers in baseball. If he stayed on his original track record, his early career trajectory, he would be the second best catcher in baseball, and it would be no discussion. He is not even top 15 right now. Pretty easy, I think. Even though we have him really close, I don't really think that he could go above any of the guys that are in front of him. Like, I don't even think he could. There's even some guys below him that you could throw him in front of, I think. Or throw in front of him, I think. But there are things there that could bode for a little bit of a better offensive profile. This is not me asking for a 130 WRC plus like we got the first couple years of his career. Can you give me 105? Can you give me somewhere between 105 and 110?
Like, when he first came into the league, it was looking like, okay, there's a reason why this guy was drafted first overall. He is unbelievable at everything he does. 2023 came along, it's like, okay, this guy's still really good. Then 24, it's like, he's still good. And then 25, it's like, all right, what the hell is going on here? So, would definitely like to see more. Again, whether it's with Baltimore or another team, you know, you would like to see more, but it's too early to write him off, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to call him, you know, a bust or fair to say that he's cooked, whatever. I think we need to see a little bit more, you know, a couple more years before we can fully give a, you know, fair judgment. But as of right now, you know, that's all we can say. Just need to see a little more.
Yeah, and also, one more thing I do want to say, his defense has oddly declined in the last couple of years. When he first came up, he was an elite framer, really good at throwing guys out, and he was the best blocking catcher in baseball when he first came up. He's still good at a lot of those things, right? He's not as good at, like, throwing guys out. Like, his pop time is worse, like a good bit worse, and he's a lot worse at throwing guys out. He's still above average at blocking and above average at framing, but it's not nearly as good as it used to be, which is a little weird. So it's more than just his bat that's gone down, but there's reason to think that, you know, we can get something better in 26 than the Adley Rutschman we had in 25. So we'll see where he ranks there. So he was 16 here. He was 17 on yours, like you just said. Or like I just said, excuse me. This is where he also ranked on my list, so we were like one spot apart. You know what, Ethan? Tell us who you had 16 on your personal list, and then tell us and because he's also 15 on our collective list. So why don't you tell us?
Yeah. So number 16, I had Austin Wells, and he'll rank 15 on our collective list. Austin Wells getting his fair share of the catching duties with the New York Yankees, and, you know, we saw a lot of good the past 2 years out of him. Defensively, I mean, one of the best framers in baseball. And it's very evident. This is not a shot at Ben Rice, by the way, because obviously he's there for his offense. But the one thing I noticed when watching the Yankees a lot, considering, you know, they're in our division, we played them in the playoffs, I got a good look at them. The one thing is that Austin Wells' game calling and everything is just, it's night and day with Ben Rice. It just proves how valuable Austin Wells is with his, you know, defense to this Yankees team. No shot at Ben Rice, but Ben Rice, you know, it was pretty evident that his strong suit is the bat and not the glove. It really puts things in perspective and really makes Austin Wells that much more valuable with his defense. And his bat isn't bad. I'm not going to say he has the same bat as Ben Rice, but a 20 home run hitter, that, you know, you'll take that with the kind of defense he provides.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, one of the single best framers in baseball, 96th percentile, plus also an okay enough bat. He's a slightly below average hitter. He's a 94 WRC plus overall. He can run into one every once in a while. He had a 217 ISO. It's like actually not a bad power hitter. A lot of that because he pulls the ball in the air a lot, like we say all the time.
Right.
Has solid quality of contact numbers too. Like that bodes overall like pretty solid player.
Yeah.
It's again like you add that, you add his defense. Maybe he can be like an average offensive player next year, maybe slightly above. If you get his 2024 offensive output and just overall output, honestly, that's like almost a 4-win player. That's a really, really good player. You had him at 16. I had him a little bit higher. I'm going to spoil it. I had him at 10. It was a little bit of a big discrepancy there. I really valued that all-around ability for him. We compromised.
That's completely valid.
Put him at 15, considering all the other guys that are here can perfectly go ahead of him. 14. We finally have unison, Ethan. We finally are locked in together. Who did we have at 14, Ethan?
At 14, we had the counterpart of number, 21 on our list.
9 plus 10.
Francisco Alvarez.
Yep.
So, Francisco Alvarez, like we were saying, very limited because we didn't want to get too much into him during Torrenz's time. He's there for his bat compared to his glove. And I'm not going to say that he's a bad defender, but I'm just saying that, when you have his bat and Torrenz's glove, it makes for a great tandem.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying he's some, world, game-changing defender, but he play, he handles it on his own. Like, he does just enough. His bat, though, is really what you're getting from him. 23, 25 home runs, 11 the last 2 years, WRC plus 124 last season. He didn't play much. He was hurt for a good amount, but when he did play, he was one of the better offensive catchers in baseball for sure.
Mm-hmm. Had some of the best exit velocity in the whole league, some of the best hard hit rate. This guy smokes the shit out of the baseball. If you extrapolate his total value that he provided in 25 and you over a full season, that's almost a 4-win player. Also, I think that's interesting. His offense has gotten worse every single year. I don't really know how real that is. He was an elite defensive catcher when he first came up. In 23, he was 97th percentile framing, 24, 84th percentile. All the way this year, dropped to 16th. I don't really know how real that is, to be honest with you. I don't know if I put much stock in that. So, when we're thinking him at 14, he very well could be higher. If all of those things come together, let's say he's a 70th percentile framing, and then you know what he is with his bat, 120, 125 diversity plus, something like that. That's probably a top 10 catcher, right? That's a higher tier. That's a higher tier catcher for sure. Like pretty easy. We'll see to what degree he's able to put things together in 26. I think that the bat is very real. I think that there's one slight concern with him, and that's his batted ball profile. This guy hits. I don't really think he pulls the ball enough. I think he needs to try and pull the ball a little bit more. He barely pulls the baseball. Even without that, like he's still able to produce, and he does have good enough bat speed that he doesn't have to just focus on his batted ball profile, and he can kind of get to anything. So it's not as crucial for him as it is for some other guys, just because of how good his bat speed is. But I will say that I think it would bode a lot better for him if he pulled more balls in the air, because pulled air ball rate is sub 10%. Not great.
Yeah.
A lot of balls in the air to the opposite field, which is not ideal. Granted, though, I guess he might just have more power to that direction. That's where a lot of his extra base hits came from. Now, granted, they're, City Field and how that all goes. It's a little bit deeper, so there's a lot more doubles that are going to be hit there. But also, I guess, just more of a pitcher's park. But not an ideal batted ball profile. But again, for someone like him with his bat speed, his just ability to just smoke the shit out of the baseball, I don't think it'll matter too much. It's just that thing that can maybe take him from a 120 to maybe like a 140 WRC plus bat, I think. So, we'll see. we'll see how that ends up going. But yes, we had him at 14 collectively. Yay for us. Number 13.
Yeah, go us.
Number 13 on the collective, we had Carson Kelly. I personally had him at 15 on mine. You had him at 12 on yours.
Yes. Consistency was my biggest thing with Carson Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, when he was playing at the top of his game, he was one of the best catchers in baseball last season. Again, it's one of those things where he did overperform this year. Not overperform necessarily, but in terms of his past years, this was definitely his best year. And when your best year is coming at 31 years old, usually it's not like you just becoming incredible. It's usually just, all right, that, you were just good that year. But there was a lot to like about Carson Kelly for the most part last season. He did a lot of things well that he is normally good at, that has stayed consistent throughout his career, and that is not chasing a lot, walking a bit, not striking out a lot, just not having a lot of swing and miss. And on the defensive side is really where he has the value most of the time, which is being incredible in blocks above average and caught stealing above average. So stuff like that is something that you can expect from Carson Kelly, and the fact that he had the offensive output of 17 home runs and the 115 WRC plus that we see is just gravy.
Absolutely. And also, like, a positive defensive catcher, blocks balls, throws guys out. On the offensive side, in addition to what you just said, he also pulls the ball a lot, which is really nice. Yeah, there's things to like with him. Definitely a tale of two halves for him, because he was a lot... It wasn't quite as pretty in the second half overall, but when you consider it as a bigger picture, definitely an overall positive. I don't think it's too crazy to say that he's going to be productive again in 26. To what extent, I don't know. But regardless of whatever that ends up being like, it can definitely be another really good year for Carson Kelly. So
for sure. I agree.
Yeah. Number 13, that was where we had Kelly in our collective list. This is where I personally had Carlos Narvaez, and you had GT Realmuto here. But,
yes.
We move guys up, we move guys down on the collective to make one unified list. And for number 12, on my personal list was Sean Murphy, and on the collective list, it was also Sean Murphy.
Yes, it was.
This guy is a really interesting case.
It's not the guy from The Good Doctor, the show, by the way. It's the other one.
Didn't even know that was
I am a surgeon, that guy.
Oh, that's that guy. Damn.
Yeah, not the catcher, obviously.
Oh, really? I thought they were the same person. I thought he was on the show.
No, I thought that too at first. I thought he was like there's like dual sport athletes. I thought he was like an actor and a baseball player. Like, how Will Smith, he's an actor and a pitcher, and a catcher. He does all three. And a hockey player.
He does everything.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And a rapper. He does that too.
Yeah, I mean, wow, Will Smith. He
does everything.
Might be like the greatest person ever, and he owns us in the World Series. So.
Shout out to bro. Hey, all right, relax.
Also, Sean Murphy, I mean, we saw that one clip. He's got a fat ass.
Okay.
That's why he made my top 50.
That's why he's here, bro.
Nah, but in all seriousness.
Anyways,
great defensive catcher, one of the best in baseball, not just this past year, but since getting into the majors, that's really the one thing that he's always excelled at, also among other things, obviously.
Also a sneaky good bat. He obviously had those years with, like, Oakland and the first year in Atlanta where he was, like, stupid good with that bat, got on the big extension with Atlanta. Last year he had, like, a big down season, and this year he wasn't great either, but he had a much more of a bounce-back year into being that, same level of, like, just being a really productive player. He was slightly below average, like, slightly, by, like, a couple points. He doesn't chase, he barrels the ball a lot. I guess the only thing is that he whiffs a lot more now than he used to, and overall he's not hitting the ball quite as hard, but at the same time, like, it's a guy who pulls the ball a lot, has good bat speed. You combine that, his chase rate is also his great defense. I have a hard time believing that this is someone who, like, a 3-win season is, like, out of the question for him. even 3.5 if you really want to get ambitious with it. Something like that being out of the picture, I don't really know about all that. I think he can definitely get back to something like that. That would definitely be a big boost to the Braves lineup. He probably, if he does all that, he probably would be in a top 10, to be honest with you. What do you think on that, on what I just said?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I
Yeah.
mean, Sean Murphy's definitely proved that what he can do with the bat, and the defense has stayed true to what it can be. So I don't know. I'm definitely thinking that's why he's so high. I mean, usually when you have a bat like he has, he would be lower in the list. But it's one of those guys where his upside is so high, where even when his bat is struggling, he's still that high on the list. That's how good he is defensively.
Yeah, and you don't need him to be spectacular with the bat, right? If he can just be fine, I think he could totally get back to up to like a 110 WRC plus hitter, and that would obviously do wonders for his value with his defense. I think that's just a really good fucking player. This is, yeah, like I said, this is where I had him on my personal list. This is also where we had him on our collective. This is where you had Carson Kelly. Yeah, we'll move up now. Number 11. This is where Carlos Narvaez sits. Is where also you had him on your personal list. Another insanely, like, really good defensive catcher right here. Not as much of a hitter as some other guys around here. But holy fuck, this guy's a really good defender. He's really good blocking the ball. He's really good framing. Throws guys out. One of the best in baseball at throwing guys out. I think the only one ahead of him in, like, caught stealing above average is Luis Torrens, actually. Or maybe it wasn't Torrens. It was someone else who we already talked about. Maybe it was Torrens. I can't remember now. I had the leaderboard up when we talked about it earlier, but now I can't remember who it was. He does all of that stuff pretty well. Overall, by the way, his offensive output, for not being too much of a hitter, 725 OPS is not bad. Like, that's
Not at all.
totally fine. Even if you, like, removed from the defense, that's not bad. Like, that's
No, 100%.
not too far off from league average. Like, it's very fine on its own. You add in the fact that he's that good of a defensive catcher, that's a really good player. He didn't even have 450 plate appearances, damn near cracked a 3-win season. That's a quality catcher. For the Red Sox, he's going to do wonders, I'm sure, for the pitching staff. In 26, just as he did in 25. Like, there's a lot to like with Carlos Narvaez now going forward. Next year's going to be age 27, so I'm sure that he will try to build on his 26, or his 25, excuse me. Maybe the offense improves in some degree. Maybe we can see him get up to somewhere between 100 and 105 WRC plus. Gets a little bit better in that department. Stays with his defense. Maybe he gets a little bit better framing or blocking. Maybe. Not that he needs to, but if he does,
Right.
a slight improvement with the
That's
bat.
his bonus, yeah.
Yeah, a slight improvement with the bat, even with his current defense. That's a 3-win player easy. Like, in his sleep, that you sleepwalk to 3 wins with that. Yeah, I don't really think there's that much else to say. He's just really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where you had him on your personal list as well. This is where I had Hunter Goodman, who I guess we'll talk about next, because he's 10 on our collective list. Hunter Goodman of the Colorado Rockies.
He's good, man.
He is.
No pun intended.
He is. Yeah, it's all good, man. So, Hunter Goodman, big breakout season this year. Made the All-Star team. Was hitting really well over there in Colorado. Hit for a lot of power, cracked 30 home runs, had an OPS over 840, slugged over 500. Really good bat speed, really good power hitter, good quality of contact numbers, pretty much across the board. He's an okay defender too. Like, he's an above average framer, above average blocking, all that stuff. Overall, bodes for just like a really good catcher. With someone like Hunter Goodman, obviously, like, you know, there's the course thing, although, again, I think it's a lot more over-exaggerated than people like to admit. You're looking at a 118 WRC plus catcher with positive defense. That's a pretty nice player. I personally have a little bit of question about how replicable this offensive output is. And I say
Yeah,
that because
the one thing I look at is the fact that he chases a ton, swings and misses a lot, strikes out a lot, doesn't walk a lot. That is where you could see troubles down the line.
mm-hmm.
Obviously, playing at Coors will help that in the sense of when he makes contact with the ball, with the bat speed he has, with his exit velos, the ball will fly, which is why he gets home run numbers. I'm not saying the only reason he hits home runs is because he's playing at Coors, but it does make the swing and miss numbers a bit less daunting.
Yeah, if you're putting up numbers, if you are able to produce in spite of those things, then it really doesn't matter. But if those things could potentially get in the way of production, then it matters a little bit more. Now, again, he hits the ball really hard. He has really good bat speed. He pulls the baseball. Those are things that, you know what I mean? Those can kind of cover up something like that, right? Even when after Arenado left, right? He had worse quality of contact numbers than Hunter Goodman currently does, even when he was with the Rockies. The reason that he was still good in his first couple years with St. Louis is because he pulls the shit out of the baseball. Even when he was an MVP finalist, his quality of contact numbers were pretty middling, but he pulled the baseball a lot, so it didn't really matter. And that's something that Hunter Goodman does really well as well. It's a little bit concerning. It's something to watch. I'm not saying I'm out on Hunter Goodman. I'm not saying that
Obviously
at all.
not.
But I do think it's a thing to look at. I don't think he's a 840 OPS bat, maybe closer to 800, something like that. Maybe slightly lower. But even that with positive defense is still a really good player. I do think that, obviously in Colorado, the power is going to be there, especially he has power in that bat regardless of where he's going to play. On the road, even, he's going to hit for power. It's just kind of a thing. That's just kind of who he seems to be. But yeah, it's just those things slightly concern me. That's why I didn't put him higher on my list than 11. And that's why I don't think he's much higher. He was 9 on your list. I'm sure that's why he's not any higher. If he was,
yes,
if
that's
he had
the main
more,
thing.
if he had a more of a process that showed, he may be a more consistent offensive player in the future. Oh, I'm sure on both our lists he'd be fucking skyrocketing. But it's just a thing to watch. It's a thing to not put all the chips into yet. But definitely already really good year for him. Around the top 10 catcher. We have him at 10 on our collective. Damn good player though. Overall, shout out to Hunter Goodman. He is good, man. Not much else to say right there.
Indeed, that's why it's his name.
Why don't you tell us? Actually, well, yeah, I guess we'll say the 10 on our. Hunter Goodman for us. He was 9 on your list, 11 on mine. Our personal 10s. Mine was Austin Wells. And then yours was?
My number 10 was Gabriel Moreno.
And you know what's really...
legend.
And you know what's funny about that one, right?
Tell me.
He ranks number 9 on our collective list.
Yes, he does.
Perfect segue.
See, this is just showing how close our list was in most of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it just also goes to show that, there's a lot of good catchers in baseball that were able to... rank a bunch of different guys, different spots. It's a testament to, how good catchers have been around the league this past couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about Moreno. Put people on game.
So, Moreno, acquired by the Diamondbacks in a pretty big trade that sent Varsho to the Blue Jays, along with Gurriel to the Diamondbacks as well. Moreno, a very highly touted prospect. Obviously, if you can remember, he was the Blue Jays' top prospect and was as high as, I believe, the 3rd highest prospect in baseball at one point. Offensively, very talented, no doubt. He's coming off a year with 117 WRC plus. He's not a big home run hitter, but what he does well is he doesn't chase. He walks a ton. He strikes out almost never the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers are great.
Hits the ball decently hard too, which is also really nice, and it shows
yes
a good bodes well for potential consistency in the future, which is pretty positive.
Yes. And what makes him stick out and putting him in our top 10 is not only is he a good bat, his defense is also among the best.
Mm-hmm.
He does everything at least above average. He's very good at blocking, great at good at throwing runners out, great at framing, and his framing numbers have improved the past couple of years too. That's only been getting better, while the other stuff was already good. So the fact that he was already good at everything aside from framing, and then added being a good framer in the mix, just makes him so much more valuable.
Yeah, like all of these things, like there's nothing that you look at with a thing like with a guy like Gabby Moreno, and you look like, oh well, that doesn't look like it's gonna hold up well. Ironically, it's actually really funny. I think actually his offensive profile is actually really similar to Kirk, which I think is really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he's a really good contact hitter. Yeah, there's not power there, but like if you're gonna hit for contact, theoretically you're gonna get on base a decent amount, which he has for the last couple of years. 353 on base each of the last 2 seasons. That plus really good defense, really good catcher overall. Really good framer, 89th percentile framing, 80th percentile blocking. That's things that you like to see. You like 100%. To see those things. That is going to bode really well. Also, he didn't crack 3 wins last season, but he also, the volume for him was a lot lower. Some time was missed, right? He did not have the plate appearances a lot of other guys. He only played 83 games last year, 309 plate appearances. There was a good amount, of time missed. Around like June, July. Pretty sure he missed like 2 months around that time. That obviously impacted his volume. Otherwise, he would have been like almost like a 5-win player, I'm pretty sure, is what his WAR would have come out to. I'm going to run it right now. I remember I looked earlier, but I didn't write the number down, which I probably should have. Per 650 plate appearances, that is a 5.7 win player. Just to show you all how good Gabriel Moreno is, if we can see him keep this kind of production over a longer stretch of volume, obviously you're not going to get a full 650 from a catcher. If you can get over 520 plate appearances, we'll say, just because catchers inherently just get more days off than other positions, that's insanely good. Like, he's really fucking good. He just is, man. He just is. He's really good. There are guys we have ahead of him, though, which also just tells you how good some of these guys are.
And it just shows how good catching has been over the past couple of years, that we're able to put so many guys and a guy of this caliber. So, like, I don't want to say so low, but as low as he is
in this spot. It just shows how many good catchers there are right now. We already know who's in your 9 spot for your personal list. Drake Baldwin was my personal number 9, which also is funny because he segues right perfectly because he's our collective number 8. I had Moreno at 8, and then you had him at 10, so we met in the middle. Drake Baldwin is our number 8 catcher, the rookie of the year in the National League. And by this is no caveat or anything like that. Drake Baldwin is really fucking good. This guy mashes. He doesn't strike out. And it's not like he's one of those guys where it's like, oh, well, I gotta look at this because this might regress. It's not like he chases. It's not like he doesn't walk. Both numbers there are totally fine. They're around middling, which is fine. You don't really need to be elite there. If you're doing everything else.
And this is another guy who's so young and only going to get better.
Yeah, he's going to
at least you would hope.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to be 25 next season. He had a 3-win season this year. His defense isn't great. Sorry, let me rephrase. His defense isn't elite or anything. He is a great catcher when it comes to blocking balls. 91st percentile blocks above average. The framing and caught stealing isn't great. But if that improves even a little bit, if you take his bat, which in 2025 he was a 125 WRC plus hitter, which I think based on his quality of contact, he can absolutely be a lot better than that. if his defense even improves a little bit, this is an easy top 5 catcher. Like, and there's not a discussion. Like, he would lap everyone that's ahead of him, I think, until you get to number 4, which we will get to. But yeah, man, Drake Baldwin is just fucking like that, man. He's good. He was a slight positive defensively, really good with the bat. He's really fucking young. He's going to be good. He's going to be good for a long time. I'm sure of it. I'm sure he's going to have another really big 2026. He'll probably be on All-Star watch in the NL. We will be there. We will be there for the Drake Baldwin. For the Drake Baldwin come up.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, so we'll talk right now really quick. Number 8 on our personal list. I just said that Moreno is 8 on my personal list. And on your personal list, it was William Contreras. Who also, this is the 3rd time in a row that we can do this, was number 7 on the collective list, Ethan. Why don't you tell us about William Contreras?
William Contreras has really proved himself for the past couple of years as one of the best offensive catchers in baseball. We value defense here, obviously, especially at a position like catcher.
Where it's so important.
And William Contreras is no slouch defensively. That's not me saying that.
He's an easy positive there. He's not elite, but he's above average.
However, it's his bat that makes him, so high on our list. And if he was a bit better defensively, it would have probably put him a little bit higher, too.
Yep.
But William Contreras, down here compared to his past couple, 139 WRC plus with Atlanta in 22, 126 and 132 and 23 and 24 in Milwaukee, down to 113, which is still good. Same home run total as in 2023 at 17. And this is a guy who is coming off 2 straight 5.5 plus F4 seasons. 3.6 last year. And obviously the drop isn't, it looks like a big drop, but when you look at what he did compared to the past 2 years, you can see why it would drop. His defense, what he excels at is mainly blocking, at least this past year and in 2023. 2024's blocking numbers weren't great, and he's also a good framer, which is very valuable. And in terms of his bat, he always has a high on-base percentage due to the fact that he walks a lot. He doesn't strike out a ton. He's got good bat speed. That too, good bat speed. Just a very good all-around catcher. He does pretty much everything at least a little well in terms of offense and defense. Mm-hmm. But obviously you're not looking for base running from a catcher, which is why... Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the thing you're looking for someone here.
A guy like Alejandro Kirk is a speed demon with his stolen base, so not everyone can
Absolutely. Be like him, he's the all-time stolen base leader in MLB history for a career. But that's the exception, not the rule.
Well, no, he's number 2. He's still 2 back of Ricky, but...
Oh, true, you're right. I thought he broke it, my bad.
No, almost.
Yeah, but even, we know that, William Contreras, he had a bit of dip in offense this year, but even so, when you look a little deeper under the hood, we whiffed a little bit less, and, the contact wasn't quite as good. You also he was also a lot better in the second half. He had a big, first half. I don't even want to fully call it a slump. He was kind of just, okay in the first couple months, and then June he wasn't very good. And then the second half, he got it back in blood. He was fully William Contreras in the second half of the season. He was a 133 WRC plus hitter then, which is a 1 point off of where he was overall in 24. So I really don't have much concern about his power. I think his power will come back to some extent. I'm sure he'll be fine in that department. And when you get there with him just being a solid defensive catcher, which he is, could probably climb up a spot or 2 even. Yeah, so that was our number 7 on our combined little list there. Number 7 on your list was Patrick Bailey, and number 7 on mine was Dylan Dingler. And also, really funny, is that number 6 on our collective list is Dylan Dingler.
Yes.
This guy, I said this last week when we did our Rookie of the Year stuff. I was really surprised that he wasn't even in the top 5 for like where he finished. He didn't even finish top 5, and I think that's insane. He already is one of the best catchers in baseball. He is an elite defensive catcher, 95th percentile blocks above average, plus 10, 85th percentile caught stealing above average, it's plus 4, and then 7 framing runs, which, 91st percentile. Overall, his fielding run value is plus 12, which is the 95th percentile. He's one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. He also hit pretty well last season, too. Was he an absolute demon at the dish? Not necessarily. He had a 109 WRC+, which is above average, but it's not elite or anything. Those two things combined are insanely valuable. He was a 4-win player in 469 plate appearances. Nice. And I do think that there's actually reason to believe that his offense can even improve a little bit. He isn't necessarily like a power hitter when you look at like his quality of contact. Like his exit velocity and barrel rate are pretty much 50th percentile. His hard hit rate is just above the 60th percentile, 62nd. He also pulls the ball in the air a decent amount. You can maybe see the home run total jump up a little bit. I'm not saying it's going to jump up a super high amount. Maybe get a little bit closer to 20 home runs. Maybe that could jump him up. You want to say 115, 116 WRC plus, something like that, by the end of the season, which would be it would be a fine jump for him. You assume the defense is going to still be there. The only reason he's not any higher for me, personally, is I just want to see him do it again. If this was 2 years of him doing it, he would be 5 on my list, and I really wouldn't think twice about it. I almost put him at 5 anyways, to be honest with you. I was very close. The only reason I did it is just because I just need to see you do it again, right? That's the only thing. And I'm sure he will. I'm sure when we do this in another year, he'll be like 5 or something like that. There's
just a lot to look forward to, though, for sure.
There's not a lot that I look at here and I'm like, oh fuck, well this is gonna fall off. Yeah, the chase and walks isn't quite where you'd want it, but there's a lot of other stuff that bodes really well for him. He underperformed his Expo, by the way, by like 25 points. I'm sure that'll stabilize to some extent, a little bit more in 26. That inherently would increase something like his overall offensive output, his WRC plus, all that, and his overall value that he brings. Dylan Dingler's good, man. Dylan Dingler's really fucking good. That's a ridiculous battery, by the way, with him and Tarek Skubal. What a battery. What a fucking battery.
Let's just hope they can, they extend him for their sake.
For their sake, yes. For everyone else in the AL sake, I hope not. Well, not I hope not, but you guys shouldn't hope so.
Right.
But yeah, man. Dylan Dingler, our number 6 catcher. He was number 6 on your list as well. Number 6 is where I had William Contreras.
Yeah, and I think Contreras, it's fair to say he could be higher than where we put him, but that's the thing with these lists. I mean, things constantly change, so definitely going to have to see what happens, but that doesn't mean Dingler's any worse, because obviously he's...
Absolutely not.
Very Contreras, rather, but obviously they're both very good.
Yeah, they're both really good. At the end of the day, we got a lot of really good players. At number 5... He was number 5 on my list. He was number 5 on the collective list. He was number 4 on your list. Shea Langeliers.
Yes.
Really fucking good season from him. Shout out to me for picking him in fantasy this year. Absolute demon. Cracked 30 home runs this season. Was really good with the bat. Last year he was like fine. He was fine with it. He was above average in the Coliseum. Rest in peace. A 109 WRC plus, was a 2-win player. This year, though, offense took a whole nother jump. And it's not like you can even just say it's the ballpark, because it's a lot more than just the ballpark. Like, he struck out a lot less. He was, the strikeouts were a lot better. He still pulls the ball a lot. It's a lot more than just the ballpark. Like, We know it's a hitter's park, but it's a lot more than just that. He struck out a lot less. He whiffed less. The bat speed was still really good. Like, he's just a really good power hitter overall.
Yes.
His defense is passable, I would say. He's roughly an average offensive catcher. I don't really see much of a reason for him to fall off too much. Will he crack 30 home runs? Maybe he doesn't crack 30. Maybe he hits somewhere closer to like 25. Maybe somewhere between 25 and 30, something like that. That's still paired with, again, what we would say is passable defense, is still a really, really good player overall. That's why we have him so high. You had him at 4, I had him at 5. There's guys that I think could pass him up by the end of the year. Like, I could maybe see, like, William Contreras pass him up. I could see Dylan Dingler pass him up. I could even say Drake Baldwin pass him up. But that doesn't take away from just how fucking good Shea Langeliers is. He's really good.
100%, yeah.
He's really good. This guy mashes. He is one of the reasons why a lot of people were really... There was a crowd coming into the season that were decently high on the A's. Like, oh, maybe they can sneak into a wildcard spot or at least sneak into contention for it. Part of that reason is because Shea Langeliers is really fucking good. And getting that kind of production out of the catcher hole, we've talked about so many catchers today, and a lot of them struggle with the bat, right? Historically, I think catcher has probably been the hardest position to get offensive output out of. Do I have data in front of me? No, but I'm sure anyone who has followed baseball for any amount of time would probably agree. That's just kind of the thing. That's how it's always been. A lot of catchers struggle offensively, and so when you're able to get this kind of output, it's super valuable, right? And again, it's not like you're costing your pitcher too many strikes. Like, he's not that bad of a framer. He's not a good framer, but he's not that bad of a framer.
He's not, hurting you whenever you're pitching out there.
Exactly. He's not hurting you that bad, right? He's no Patrick Bailey. I was gonna wait to say his name because he's next, but he's no Patrick Bailey. But it's totally fine, you know.
Yes, not everyone can be, because obviously that would be absurd.
It is no biggie. Which, speaking of Patrick Bailey, he's number 4 on our catcher list. This is the best defensive catcher in baseball. It's not close. There is no discussion. He is one of the best overall catchers in baseball. I know that this guy doesn't hit that well. He was a 70 WRC plus catcher last year. And in spite of that, he still was able to exceed 3 WAR. He's just that good. It's that simple. He is that fucking good defensively. Defense at catcher is also just, like we said, it is probably the most important defensive position on the baseball field, right? Patrick Bailey overall was the most valuable defensive player in baseball last year by a good margin. He was like almost 33% better than the next player, which in fielding run value is a tie between Alejandro Kirk and Cedric Rafaela. Patrick Bailey runs laps around them. That's how good he is. Yeah. He is the best framer in baseball, and again, it is not close. He is elite at throwing guys out. He's really good at blocking, right? Again, he's not much of a hitter, but you don't need him to be. He's not there for his bat. You know that you're not going to get much offensive output from him. And in spite of that, you still know that he is an incredibly valuable player because he's that fucking good behind the dish. Like, this guy is a pitcher's best friend. This guy is probably Logan Webb's best friend. Any pitcher that maybe goes to San Francisco this offseason will be his best friend. Because this guy is going to get you a lot of strikes. He's going to call an elite game. He's got it. He's got it, man. He's that fucking good. He's that good. Yeah.
Valid. I mean, obviously valid.
Every single part of that. We love Patrick Bailey around here. He was number 4 on my list. He was a little lower on yours. You had him below Dylan Dingler.
Yeah, but
Baldwin and
obviously,
Shea.
no
But
disrespect to him,
of
I still
course,
think he is that good. Yeah.
of course, like even so, like the number 7 and catcher in baseball, that's no slouch. That's still a fucking really good player.
Exactly.
That's still a really good player there. And when you're in this kind of company with a bunch of really good players, that says something, right? Regardless of where you are. We'll go to number 3. Our 2 and 3, we both had them changed on our list. We came to a compromise. You liked mine a little bit better, I guess. Number 3 on our list is Will Smith. Why don't you tell us? Put us on game for Will Smith.
So, I mean, Will Smith, what we saw from Will Smith, it got a bit, it went, I don't want to say under the radar, but it definitely, because of what our number 1 on the list did, it was definitely a bit overstepped compared to how it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Because Will Smith put up one of the best offensive seasons we've ever seen from a catcher. He had a 153 WRC plus, which obviously that's really high and the highest of his career, except for, the shortened 2020 season. However, he's a consistent 130, 125 plus guy for the majority of his career, so it's not that crazy that he put up a 153. It's it makes sense that a guy like him would. Now, Will Smith, what made him this good? It's a mixture of everything. It's the fact that he didn't really chase, the fact that he walked a lot, as you can see a common theme with guys who are in the upper half of this list. Obviously the bat speed isn't necessarily high, but he makes it work. I mean, his ex-wobo is in the 94th percentile. His launch angle sweet spot percentage was in the 97th percentile. I mean, he does so many good things with the bat that you could get away with not having the fastest bat. He had an on-base percentage of over 400, which, again, that would be the first time in his career he did so aside from the shortened season. But it's always been around 350. I definitely think that this year was better than the average year, and you can't really expect him to just be a 153 WRC plus bat every year. But if he came relatively close to like 135, 140 the rest of the next couple of years, I don't think that's that crazy to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
And yeah, as for defense, he's not like an elite defender, but again, he's not hurting you.
Yeah,
not the best framer though.
His framing
but
kind of
with his hitting and with his hitting, you could obviously take that bump.
Yeah, you can take you with his hitting, you take it. His framing is stinky. His blocking is stinky. He's actually really good at throwing guys out, but with the offense, he's one of the best hitting catchers in all of baseball. Probably only one guy better than him, to be honest with you, in that department. But this guy, he smokes the shit out of the baseball. He hits it really fucking hard. He barrels it. That's why he's able to get away with it, which is interesting considering he has such low bat speed. Usually with lower bat speed guys, you see them maybe focus more on a more optimal batted ball profile and maybe not as much quality of contact, and hopefully that masks it. But someone like Will Smith, even with a lower bat speed, which again typically translates to lower quality of contact, softer hit balls, he says, I don't care. You are going to be hit 95 miles an hour. So enjoy it. But yeah, he
for sure
is interchangeable with the guy I think that we have at number 2, and that's Alejandro Kirk. Our 2 and 3, I had Kirk at 2 and Will Smith at 3. You had Will Smith at 2 and Kirk at 3. Yes. But again, you can interchange these two. Alejandro Kirk is also really fucking good. He is the second best defensive catcher in all of baseball, and he also has a really good offensive output overall. I said when we were talking about Patrick Bailey, only Patrick Bailey is a better framer than Alejandro Kirk, right? That is the only one who had more framing runs than him, right? Only guy.
Yeah.
In terms of blocking, Kirk's actually the best by a decent margin. Actually, you know what's funny? I'm looking at this. Do you want to guess who's second on blocks above average? Kirk's first. Guess who's second?
Is it the guy we have number 1?
No.
Oh, who is it?
It's Danny Jansen.
Actually, yeah, that makes sense.
His former backstop made back there. Shout out to him.
Yeah, pretty cool to see, honestly.
I love that. I actually love that. I didn't know that until right now, but I love that. But yes, he's overall he's like a top 2 probably defensive catcher in baseball. It's probably him and Bailey and then everybody else. He's a really good hitter. He hits the ball hard. He's not a power hitter, but he doesn't have to be. He is not the first player on this list that we've said, like, yeah, he's not a power hitter, but when he gets on base, he does this enough that it doesn't really matter, right? Far from the first player on this list to be like that. He had a 116 WRC plus on the year. Also, he underperformed his xWOBA by about 25 points, which, you know, I mean, granted, he's kind of been a guy over the last few years that's just consistently underperformed his xWOBA, so I think that just kind of might just be what it is. But this year, Kirk took such a step forward. After being an All-Star in 22, there was a pair of down years where he wasn't hitting the ball as hard. A lot of things didn't really look as great. And then this year, his hard hit rate skyrockets. He barreled the ball a lot more. His expected slugging, expected WOBA, expected batting average, all of that skyrocketed. He was squaring up the ball more. Like, the contact was just better, right? His bat speed got a lot quicker, and I think that's what allowed him to hit the ball a lot better. Shout out Dave Popkins, my GOAT. That, you know what I mean? He still walks a decent amount. Like, he's still a really disciplined hitter. He doesn't chase. He never strikes out. 95th percentile K rate. Add all that together, you almost have, in 2025, he was a damn near a 5-win player. Which, for all catchers in 2025, was ranked second in baseball. Only behind Cal Raleigh, who is our number 1.
Yeah, and I don't think there's much to debate there after the year he just had.
Yeah, no, there is genuinely no discussion here. It's Cal Raleigh number 1, and it's not close. He could have been 3 wins worse than he was this year, and he would still be an easy number 1 lock. I think he honestly was probably the number 1 coming into the year anyways. I don't think it was as easy to put him there, but would have been in that conversation even coming into the season.
It'd have been like, you know, outrageous to say.
No, just thinking about it right now, before I actually go look in like pre-2025 stuff, yeah, that makes sense that he would have been at least in the conversation. Probably maybe could have even been there too. Probably would have been in there actually, but still. Like, there's not really much to say that hasn't already been said about Kyle Raleigh at this point. He had one of the best seasons by a catcher ever. This is, like, undoubtedly a top 5 catcher all-time season. Maybe even top 3, just off the top of my head. But this is a guy who is so good that even despite a 25th percentile chase rate, has a 95th percentile walk rate because guys are that fucking scared of him. They will intentionally walk him. They will not give him shit.
We saw the playoff series in which
he hit very well.
Walked him.
He hit very well in that series when we didn't walk him.
Yeah.
Like,
especially a home run in Game 7 too.
Yep. It didn't look good then, but then you know what happened next.
It didn't, but
like, he's a really good framer, 93rd percentile framing, good at throwing guys out, not a good blocker. They will tell you 0 pass balls. He is not good at blocking balls. Actually,
that might be the fakest stat I've ever seen in my life.
0 pass balls is fake. That is fugazi as hell. Does that mean he's a bad defensive catcher? No, because his framing is just that good. Overall, a really positive behind there. And then obviously with not only just being the best hitter by a catcher, or like being the best hitting catcher, he's one of the best hitters in the league. He was, by WRC Plus, the 4th best hitter in the league. If you want to count Nick Kurtz in there, just because he technically didn't qualify for leaderboards, then he's 5th. That would make him a top 5 hitter, plus a really good defender. At this position, was a 9-win player in 2025. Absolutely insane, by the way. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, insane. I'm struggling to, like, even say much more because, like, what else more can you say about Kyle Raleigh that just has not been said? He's genuinely just that good. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
He hits fucking tanks. Is he going to hit 60 home runs again? Probably not. But he's still probably going to have production that's going to be top.
Yeah, that's
the top catcher in baseball next year, probably by a decent margin too.
that's another thing. It's not like he has to hit that many home runs to make him the best catcher in baseball. That's just, incredible on top of what else he has been doing.
Absolutely.
That's just one of the things, which he could still be elite without hitting 60.
Yeah, when he hit 34 last year and he was a 118 WRC plus
Yes.
bat, he was still like probably the best catcher in baseball. And now
Yes.
he jumped his WRC plus up over 40 points and it's not even close and he's in MVP conversations. Like there's not really much to say here with Cal. There just isn't because it's very simple. He's just that good. He's just insane. And there's not really much to say, I don't really think. I think it's kind of that easy. I don't know about you, but I think it's that
No, I
simple.
think that's, yeah.
Yeah, man.
No, I agree.
But yeah. That's our list, everyone. Our individual lists and our collective lists. That's our catchers, our top 30 catchers for right now. Yeah, that'll do it for the ranking, I guess. Is there anything else that you want to say to everyone before we get off?
No, I mean, we'll get our graphic up and going very soon, so you can have a visual of our list.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. So you can see it right up front. So, yeah, that'll do it for this. Stay tuned for that. It'll be out sooner, pretty soon. So yeah, thank you all for listening. Any extent, if you listen for just a couple minutes, you listen to the full near 3 hours. Shout out to you.
Yep.
Yeah, the support is everything. We will see you guys again in a week. We are going to tackle first baseman next time, and then we'll see whatever other off-season moves happen in that time, and we'll give our takes on those. We'll say what we think on that stuff too. But in the meantime, everyone take care. Peace out, y'all. We will see you guys next week.